Hello and welcome to HMG Network, broadcasting live from the greater Washington, D.C. metropolitan. My name is Freeman Singirankabo, and thank you for joining us for another power-packed message of our series In Pursuit of Justice. Guys, today I want to give you a huge welcome all over the world, those of you joining us right now, especially those of you following from the social media, via social medias. Not only we on television live, we're on radios, but today we actually tapping into the social media as well, as we are going to be hooking up with our folks on Twitter Space. Not only that, we also have our colleagues also joining us from all kinds of social media. We have Facebook connected, we have YouTube connected, we have Twitter Space connected. So today is going to be an exciting experience for all of you guys. We welcome all of you to come in and chit chat, submit questions, feedback, you name it. Today then I want to make sure that we don't get too excited before I introduce all my brothers and sisters that we are joining in today. And I want to go ahead and call on my brothers and sisters also from the motherland. So let me actually start by saying that today's discussion is going to be a solidarity. Nigeria shows solidarity with the Congo on the mapping report. On specific note, or in particular, we have our brother Claude Gatebuke, who's going to be a part of the presentation. We have our sister Benedict Kumbinjoko. We have also Kambale Musavuli, and our brothers and sisters from Nigeria. We have Rinu Oduola, and we also have Akin Ola Oye. And with that in mind, I want to go right ahead and ask our brother Claude Gatebuke. Claude, if you can hear us, I would like you to just give a shout out to those listening in, and then all of you guys joining us at the studio right now. I just want you guys to give just a little greetings to everybody who's watching live and listening in live before we tune into the Twitter space. Claude, can you hear me from where you are? Okay. We might be having a problem with the feed, but in any case, we want to go right ahead and join straight to our live feed on Twitter. And those of you guys watching live right now, we bear that you just hold tight, because this whole technology, it's still an ongoing, but we bring it to you live as we speak. So I'm Freeman here on HMG Network, and welcome again. Let's tune in to our brothers and sisters on the Twitter space. Thank you.
Automatically, if you're born in Nigeria, you're an activist, because you find one or two things to have to advocate for, because it seems like everything is going wrong. So for me, it was about survival, because Nigerians are doing a lot. Nigerians are have to provide food for themselves, provide water for themselves, even electricity, provide that for themselves. More than half of the time, we don't get to receive anything from the government, and then for us to have to fight for our lives still, I think that it's a matter of urgency. So for me, it was about survival. It was about seeing young people die from preventable causes, in the country, and seeing the government doing nothing, practically nothing about it. So my first foray into activism was, say, in June last year, like my official foray, when a 16-year-old teenager died in Lagos, where I stay in Nigeria. She was 16, and she was shot by a police officer who was less than, I don't know the currency in Congo, but then maybe I should talk about dollars. It's less than a quarter of a dollar. And then a shot sporadically into the group of passengers, and then the bullet hit the girl where she was standing by the bus stop, and then she died 2 days later after she was, rushed to the hospital. You know, even the lack of good healthcare also contributed. But however, this is issues for me represented how young people are always getting killed, how we are often, the major victims of Nigerians government incompetency. So I felt really passionate, and I knew that that could have been me. It could have been everybody, because you are a Christian or a Muslim, or you are a certain age, or you are a certain certain sex. It doesn't prevent you from being a victim of Nigeria, right? So I felt strongly an obligation to do something more than help trend hashtags. So I headed with my friends, also from social media to the police headquarters in Ikeja back in June last year, to protest against the issue of extrajudicial killings, and also to ask the police officers to stand up to the issue of rape, because I think that around that time too, Uwa was killed in Benin by some people in a church. Who was an undergraduate student who was raped in a church and killed. So these issues for me, I felt very strongly and passionate about this issue, and I decided to do something about it. But then more people perhaps may know me from the recent NSAS protests, which has evolved into a movement and is still currently ongoing. Kambele, did you hear about the NSAS movement? Oh, Claudia, did you hear about the NSAS movement? Or Benedict?
Yeah, I think Claude is familiar with
Yes,
NSAS.
yes, we did, and we even
Hey,
tweeted on that.
Yeah, so
yeah.
many people from the NSAS movement. I mean, where we had to, finally say enough was finally enough with the extrajudicial killings, with the profiling, with the harassment of young Nigerians, and because our roads are not safe, our homes are not safe. They harass you on the roads. They barge into your homes, and we just finally said we need to do something about it. And I think that's where more people will know me from, because then I think that whenever I'm passionate about an issue, I cannot literally hide my emotions. So I think my emotions were all over the place when talking to government officials regarding what is happening, because I'm a part of that demographic that has been, even females are not left out. They're being sexually harassed, we've been extorted, and all of that. And I just had to. I think I was talking to a government official then, and I said, and the government official said, "You understand." And this is one that people can relate to it, like they can remember what I said then for. Because the government official said, "Oh, we understand what you're going through." And I said, "No, sir, please, hold on. You do not understand. You guys can claim to understand. You're always going around the police escorts and military escorts. You're shielded. You're the 1% of the 1% in Nigeria. So please don't give us that um I don't want to use that word, but don't give us that nonsense that you claim to understand what is happening to young people." So I think that is like a brief summary of what I've done and what I do currently. I work as the project director of Connect Hub. We document extrajudicial killings and state violence in Nigeria. We also defend and advocate against these issues. For example, we provide legal actions to people that are wrongly incarcerated or innocently arrested. There's a lot of indiscriminate arrest. For people that are extorted, we try to locate where they've been extorted, get their money back, also file a petition against um, those police officers that have committed the dastardly actions. So that's the project I'm currently working on. And yeah, I'm also a student studying public health. Basically, that's all about me. Welcome, Hakim. How you doing?
Hi everyone. I'm good. Claude, glad
I
to
know
have
you've
you on
been
the stage.
jumping between planes and all of that.
Hey, I'm just trying to get a lot of exploits under my belt in 2021. But glad to be here. Always a pleasure having my folks from Congo in conversations. Myself and Claude know each other going back as far as 20 years. Claude is like a brother, so it's kind of funny how paths align, and here we are on the stage talking about activism, looking for ways to prosper, the continent by virtue of being involved and really bringing light to issues. Again, my name is Akin Olaoye. I'm an entrepreneur. Own a couple of businesses in Nigeria and equally reside in the US where I shuttle back and forth. Yes, I equally like the fact that Reno is not, using that label activist, because many times people think when you're an activist, you have nothing else to do in life and all you do is wake up to foment trouble. But again, active citizen is definitely a way of life, it's an attitude we're trying to promote a lot more aggressively, especially in Nigeria, where we're a very docile country. You might know that the average Nigerian is, somewhat confident. We are highly driven. We love to succeed in many areas. But when it comes to issues around governance and social, let me call it activism, you often find us missing in the picture. And I think for a lot of us young Nigerians, or even let me say middle age as well, we're saying, it's about time we change our attitude and probably be a lot more vocal. So you probably would have heard of the Sorosoke, slang, which obviously means speak louder. And that means, for a lot of us that are not happy with the state of things. We're not content with, the direction the country is headed. We know that the next generation may not be left behind with a country that's what even being proud of. We're saying to ourselves, what are issues we can speak louder about? Not just speak louder in a vacuum, but speak louder to the right people in the right audience, and again see that the right action takes place. So from the NSAS protest, which many of you might be familiar with, to speaking up against bad governance, we're just saying how can we get a lot more Nigerians, especially young Nigerians, who don't really care for governance because they feel like, well, as long as I can eat and I can go about my business, I don't care who's in office. So trying to wake up that civic consciousness is what we're on about. Obviously, the end to police brutality, seeing that extrajudicial killings, corruption, and mismanagement and gross abuse of office by politicians, something that we just do away with. So again, for me, really just taking it on as a mission to lend my voice, throw my resources, and be very, very active and keep doing work in ways that can bring about social change. Reno, I know I went a bit longer than expected for an introduction, but let me go ahead and pass the mic to Kambale. Is that how you say your name? I hope I didn't murder it. And then we'll take what's next.
Thank you so much. You two have shared so much already around the issues of Nigeria, and there is so much more that I want to learn. In way of introduction, my name is Kambale. I'm Musavoli. I work for the Center for Research on the DRC. It's a think tank focusing on analyzing issues in the DRC and providing solutions for those issues from a think tank perspective. My focus has been for the past 2 years working in Ghana, mainly studying the work of Kwame Nkrumah, and particularly the 7-year plan he developed for Ghana, which has an impact up until today. I started by saying that I work for the Center for Research of the Congo. I am Congolese. I was born in DRC. Consider myself an internationalist, a Marxist, an African, and any issues anywhere around the world are issues that I care about. As long as it's affecting humanity, you will see me there speaking. But what I can actually say specifically around the issues that we're discussing. In 10 days, we're going to be remembering Sawiwa, Ken Sawiwa, who was a stellar Nigerian activist. He stood up, right? And as he stood up against the injustice of how the resources of Nigeria, particularly oil, was used in an area where people did not benefit from that wealth. He was killed. He was brutally killed. And 26 years later, we, young Africans, are discussing governance issues. But at the core of those governance issues is always around the mineral resources of our land. We can talk about Congo. We can talk about Nigeria. We can talk about Zambia and many African countries. When you start looking at it very closely, that whenever we start having challenges of governance, of wars, of conflict, of oppression, it ends up to be who controls the resources of the land and for whose benefit. So I hope in our discussion today, we will discuss how we can connect those issues. Malcolm X said it best. He said that we can't resolve the issues in Mississippi and Alabama if we don't resolve the issues of the Congo. And I can say the same thing. No matter what we do in the DRC, if the Nigerian issue is not resolved, if the Guinea issue is not resolved, if the Rwandan issue is not resolved, African people will continue to be oppressed and see themselves subjugated to inhumane conditions. So it's about time that we all come together as Pan-Africanists to liberate our continent as our foremothers did in the 60s.
Thanks for that. Well spoken. Claude, welcome. Mike is yours.
Thank you, Akin. It's great to be on this stage with you. A totally different setting than we usually see each other in meet. But as you say, that me and you have known each other for more than 20 years. We go way back, and it's like being with family, being with you and Kambale and Benedict, people that I've known and been around for so many years, and now Reno. It's really exciting to be around you and to be sharing this stage with you. And just to piggyback on everything that you all said, the issues that we face in the region, the Great Lakes region of Africa, the issues that we face in Nigeria, in the Congo, in Rwanda, in Zambia, in so many other places are all interlinked. And it's important, and that's why I love what you're doing, connecting the dots and connecting with issues in so many other parts of Africa, and pretty much all of us coming together, to pull together so we can get to a common solution. Because if one country is suffering in Africa, what they say about parents, right? You are as happy as your unhappiest child. And, Mother Africa is going to be unhappy as the unhappiest child as long as we do not look at the issues as a core. So I was born in Rwanda. My connection to Congo is I survived the genocide in Rwanda and fled to the Congo. In fleeing to the Congo, there was a genocide. The genocide that happened in Rwanda. Then 2 years later, another genocide happened in the Congo, where the Rwandan troops, the Rwandan government troops, led by Paul Kagame, and Ugandan troops invaded the Congo, destroyed the refugee camps, and then went on to kill 6 million Congolese people. It's such a tragedy. That was my initial connection with the Congo. But as has been said, and especially Kambale just said it best, I am a human rights activist. And humans anywhere in the world, injustice anywhere is an injustice against all of us. And as an African, an injustice to a fellow African is an injustice to me, is an injustice to humanity. And so I'm here not only to share, to share in solidarity, but also to put a human face to the things that we're talking about. Our people are being killed. Reno lost our sister. And we have lost, every one of us on this panel have lost family members to brutality by government forces. Some of it through massacres, major massacres. Some of it to genocide. And all of that, at the end, it points to the resources, the quest for resources by imperial powers. And, as, Reno asked if I heard about NSARS, I was not as involved as you all were, but I was right in the middle of it. If you could, I'm sure Ken, you probably saw some of the things that I was doing in terms of raising awareness and making sure that we show solidarity with our sisters and brothers in Nigeria. And I'm really grateful that today we get the opportunity now to put a spotlight on the Congo and a spotlight on our sisters and brothers in the Congo, because a free Congo is a free Africa. A free Nigeria is a free Africa. We need to make sure that we take care of our people. We are our brothers and sisters keepers, and to do that, it starts with these type of conversations. Thank you.
Thanks, Claude. All right, next let's bring Benedicta Kumbi.
Yes, hello. Thank you very much for having me for this invitation. Because I've been quite longing as a Congolese really to get in touch with fellow African brothers and sisters, because long had the feeling that the fight that we were leading in our region was mostly unknown to the rest of Africa, even though people maybe heard now and then that people were experiencing some issues in the Congo. So my name is Benedict Kumbijoko, and I'm a human rights activist. And I've been doing that, I think that now is more than 10 years. And I was shocked, and this started because I was shocked about what I was discovering about my countries. I started seeing pictures that were highly disturbing. People with blown out faces, women cut into pieces, and I started hearing about rapes and children being killed. And I told myself that as a Congolese, I could not just stand there and look at that. And then that tragedy impacted myself also personally, which even gave me even more strength to really try to become more vocal on the issue. I'm a historian, and as such, also being an activist, I try really to think that activism through also my profession. I'm a teacher, but I think that when we talk about African issues, most of the time we lack that perspective, like that historical perspective. And for me, it's really important because it also explains most of the traumas that we have, and sometimes the incapability that we have to become vocal on certain issue, because it involves trauma, and we are not cute people. And so all those aspects in my way of advocating for my people are really important, and I always try to rely on that in order to try to propose some thoughts out there. And as everybody has said here, I think that joining those kind of fights, we understand that it's about humanity. It's not about Congolese, it's not about Rwandans, it's not about Nigeria, it's about humanity. And when we look around, even outside our continent, we can see that other people also experience those brutalities that we are experiencing again today. But of course, there is a specificity with Africa. which I think that we always have also to remember that there is racism involved, there is imperialism, but with racism involved. The question of minerals are there, of course, but all those aspects need to be taken into account in order to understand what is happening to us and why we are facing those major tragedies on that continent. So for me, it's important to share with you about all those aspects. I'm looking really forward to listen to brothers and sisters from Nigeria because we all heard about the NSAS movement. As I said, we tweeted about that, but to go a little bit deeper on that will be very much appreciated so that we can take also these words and try to explain that to other people from the continent who maybe don't really get what is happening there. And I'm also happy to bring that voice from the Congo and share about that country and what is happening there, and why I think also it is important for all of us African to really try to take Congo into account. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Benedict, for that. Aki, you wanted to say something before I go ahead?
No, go on and piggyback. I was just trying to segue the conversation, but go on, Reno.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. If you're just joining the space, please click the link, share, and share the space to your timeline so that other people can get to join in. I know there's football going on, so a lot of people are currently watching football, but then still click on share and let people get to join in. So one thing I'm very interested in, these are the rules of the room. If you're coming up to ask questions or make contributions, please make sure if you're not yet called upon, just mute your mic so that we can have an amiable, atmosphere. And also, please, no insults when talking to our guests. Please, let's keep it civil, like Hakim will always say. Yeah, get to the point of the conversation. I don't know who wants to take this question, but then when I read up about Congo, for coming up to this conversation, I realized that there are a lot of human rights violations. Like, I see a lot of human rights violations, and I wonder, is this Nigeria or Congo? The security agents killing people, a lot of ethnic fights, a lot of death. I mean, people are literally dying in Congo, and it breaks my heart. Children, citizens, people are dying. I think I went through a Wikipedia article, and then there was literally timelines of events, happening. I mean, from just this year alone, I mean, they're hardly a day or two apart from each other where people just dying. 22 people, 4 people, 16 people. And I've read a lot about the ADF, about the Codeco, a lot of, I think, the armed forces and all of that. And I wonder, how exactly does this go on I mean, when the 21st century, for crying out loud, what exactly is going on in Congo? Why are people dying? And one thing that particularly interested me was the fact that Congo is the second largest country in Africa. Anybody can correct me on that, but then that was what I read, that apart from Nigeria, I mean, this country is literally the largest. Not just the largest, I mean, Africa is blessed with a lot of resources, mineral resources and all of that. And then these things are still happening. So for me, I think what I'd like to ask is a brief history of how did Congo get to this point? Just probably something really, really brief and enlightening. How did Congo get to this point where people are literally dying every day? So,
So
Kambele, you want to
let's
go?
pass that to Kambale. But then while he does
Yeah.
that, also Congo is bleeding. For many of the audience members, people in Nigeria or other African nations that may just be coming up on the hashtag, if you can give us some context, so at least it's information, and then behind that, some historical perspectives. But yes, go ahead, Kambale.
Well, the historic trajectory of the DRC can be looked all the way from 1885. As Africans, No, we've become nation state at the so-called Berlin Conference. And what people do not know, the Berlin Conference was not just about carving up the African continent. Right? If you read the Act of Berlin, you clearly see there are two countries on the African continent mentioned by name, Niger and Congo. And as they talk about these two countries, they talk about the control of the land, particularly to make sure that whatever is extracted from the land has no taxation. Congo was given to King Leopold II as a free trade zone, where any nation, any European nation who signed that Act of Berlin could get access to Congo's resources. So from that time, 1885 to 1908, under the control of King Leopold, Congolese were subjugated to inhumane conditions. Their hands were chopped off. I mean, you can look at the documentary White King, Red Robber, Black Death. It's online. You will see the conditions in which Congolese had to live. Why were they chopping off their hands? They were chopping off their hands because some of the workers who were extracting rubber were not meeting the quota. So then I'm going to come back all the way now to today, right? So that I don't spend a lot of time giving the whole entire history of the DRC. People can go online to watch a documentary called Crisis in the Congo. It's on congojustice.org, and they'll give a longer briefing on Congo's history. But contemporary Congo today, since 1996, over 6 million Congolese have died in this conflict. We have nations on the African continent that do not have a population of 6 million. Gabon is one of them, right? 1.2 million Gabonese are in the land called Gabon. So what is happening? We have literally multiple countries that have been massacred, killed in a span of almost 20 years, while the whole world watch. Why are they dying? Why are Congolese being killed? They're being killed specifically because the land has mineral resources that's needed in modern day technology. Your cell phone, your laptop, your DVD player, your VCR. I was watching a few months ago, the South African billionaire, Elon Musk, who was talking about SpaceX, how they're going to space. You can't have this space shuttle without Congo's cobalt. So one thing is happening is that you have Congolese people dying with a media narrative of so-called ethnic conflict, but the minerals always find this way out of the Congo, find this way in the Tesla car that you will be driving. All the electric vehicles that you will be driving today will have a piece of Congo in this soil. But this exploitation could only happen with African collaborators, just as slavery happened with African collaborators, right? You had some people who participated in allowing slavery. Just now, we have now African nations who are allowing that to happen. So the war in the Congo is a resource war waged by the United States and the United Kingdom allies on the African continent. And those two allies are Rwanda and Uganda. They invaded the Congo twice, in 1996, in 1998, and continue to support proxy rebel militias. So when Sister Reno is reading the news and she says the ADF is massacring people. Now, I've had family members killed by the so-called ADF. But when you talk to the locals, they're clear that this ADF that they are seeing, who are the so-called invisible forces, is not a force operating in a silo. Today, the United States is talking about that the ADF is connected to ISIS in Afghanistan, in Iraq, this so-called terrorist group. Congo, a country the size of Western Europe, second largest country by size, fourth largest country by population, a country with a majority population of Christians, that want the world to believe that there is a small group of radical Islamists who are so determined to kill every Congolese and convert them to Islam that every other day, every other week, 4 people, 22 people are dying. And no one is talking about that people are dying just right beside a lake in the Congo, Lake Albert. That lake, in the early 2000s, we found that we have 2.5 billion barrels of oil. Nigerians, are you hearing me? Don't you have the Niger Delta? In the DRC, we have a lake that has 2.5 billion barrels of oil. The story that Sister Rinu mentioned about the ADF. The ADF is killing people just in the area where the 2.5 billion barrels of oil have been discovered. Congolese are dying, but no one from Total is dying. Total, the French oil company, has a few oil blocks there. Tullow Oil has few oil blocks there. Everyone else is getting oil blocks while Congolese are being displaced. So at the center, the root of Congo's war, the inhumane conditions the Congolese people are living in, is the control of the resources and the exploitation. And while they're also being exploited by Congo's neighbors, we also have our internal challenges with the local government that's not able to address or rise up to the aspiration of the Congolese people. Congolese people have organized, mobilized to challenge their leaders, to have leaders that represent them. Unfortunately, elections after elections, we keep seeing rigged elections, and Congolese are not able to determine their own affairs. So when you look from the outside, it looks like a chaos. I say it's an organized chaos. In the organized chaos, you still have Congolese who are organizing to transform the country. They did it in 1960 with Patrice Lumumba. Unfortunately, he was assassinated. They continue to do it even today. Young Congolese have died in thousands from east to west of the country, rising up to say that they want a leadership that represents them so that the killings that we see don't continue. And they hope that other Africans will join them in this struggle as they're fighting to transform the country. So that's what I will end, at least for now, and then let's continue further and hear what others have to add.
Wow, that was, I don't know what word I want to term that with, but then that was really, really, really a powerful and depressing, explanation. I have to put the word depressing. And the more you talk, the more I think, how is this person not talking about Nigeria? Thank God you mentioned the Niger Delta where we have oil and all of that. And then, a lot of people are dying in the southeast as well. And it's like the rest of the country. There's so much inequality and nepotism as well. Like you talked about. I wanted to get the name of the region you talked about. Is it the Lake Congo? Did you say Lake Congo? Kambale. I Kambale, was that Lake Congo?
Yes, interesting enough, it used to be called Lake Idi Amin. It was changed to Lake Albert when the rebels took over the country after 1997. So it's called Lake Albert. People are being killed in the city called Beni. Beni and Butembo is in the Lubero district in the eastern part of Congo, but it's not the only area where people are being massacred. I'm specifically speaking about the killing you mentioned of the ADF. The ADF is massacring people where there is a large oil reserve. In the northeast, you have Ituri people who are being killed. You go in the west of the country, you have people who were massacred right before the election in Yumbi. People have even forgotten there was a massacre that took place there of the population. So in many parts of the DRC, you have massacre taking place. People are not getting justice for the killings, and Congolese are fighting day and night for justice to be served, for the world to know that these killings are taking place. But the lake is called Lake Albert. It's near the town of Beni in the eastern part of DRC.
Lake Albert. Thank you very much. So, these killings that you talk about, mainly the Congolese security agencies, like the military and the police, they are the ones killing people.
The war in the Congo is not a inter-Congolese struggle. It's not Congolese are waking up and say we're going to kill Congolese people. It's a war of invasions by two of Congo's neighbors. Congo is right in the heart of Africa, right in the center, and two of its neighbors in the east are Rwanda and Uganda. Rwanda and Ugandan Rwandans and Ugandans are U.S. allies on the war on terror. So, for example, you had the U.S. military leaving Afghanistan. As they were leaving Afghanistan, many Africans found out that Ugandan soldiers are there, right? Because Uganda is saying that they want to stay in Afghanistan. Many people do not know that they are there. So as U.S. allies on the war on terror, Rwandan and Ugandan troops are sent all over the world to serve U.S. interests. In the DRC, the destabilization effort was to get access to resources. So we have to get first the part clear that the war that we are speaking about that killed 6 million Congolese is a war of aggression. a war of invasion of Congo's neighbors. The second aspect with that, we've had this war for over 2 decades, which has ripple effects, right, in the society. The people who are in power, most of them, are former rebels of yesterday. So, for example, the former president, Joseph Kabila, was a former rebel supported by Rwanda and Uganda who was put into power. Right? And then the Congolese military, for some strange reasons, because of international pressure, they've had this peace accord and processes that called DDR, where they take former rebels, integrate them into the military, and expect them to bring peace, stability into the area. So these rebels are doing the same type of thing. It's like thinking about the source force being the whole entire Nigerian army, right? That's what the Congolese army is. It's an army composed of former rebels who are continuing to do the crimes with Congolese army uniform. So when you will read in the news, you'll hear a Congolese soldier has done ABCD. What we Congolese, we always ask is, who is this person, right? Is he Congolese? Is he not Congolese? What is his story? Me saying that is really important because today, one thing I always point out to people to explain, to really understand Rwanda's influence to the DRC, is to look at a Rwandan soldier. His name is James Kabarebe. James Kabarebe was a minister of defense in Rwanda. He's a military advisor to the Rwandan president. But do you know that this soldier, James Kabarebe, was also a Congolese army chief of staff? How will I explain it in a Nigerian context? Think about a Ghanaian soldier being the Nigerian defense minister. And then after a few years, it tells you, oh no, I'm not Nigerian, I'm actually Ghanaian. And goes back to Ghana working for Nana Akufo-Addo. So that's what has actually happened to DRC, where we've had Rwandan soldiers who one day were Congolese, another day were not there. So when you understand that it's a war of invasion, a war of aggression of neighboring countries, supported by the United States, supported by the United Kingdom, then it starts making sense. Oh, Congolese are not just waking up and killing themselves. And because of the conflict over time, he has created a ripple effect of some of the symptoms of the conflict.
Kambale, I wanted to just quickly add one thing about to explain it to, in a Nigerian context. You stated
Please go ahead.
Yeah, you stated a Ghanaian general basically going and becoming the military chief of staff in Nigeria, and then going back to Ghana and saying, "Oh, I am Ghanaian." But the part that that I think is important to include is the fact that this general came from Ghana, invading Nigeria, partook in killing millions of Nigerians, and then helped a rebel group, a so-called rebel group, take over, and then they install him as the military chief of staff. So this is an invasion. This is an invader occupier. So he came, General James Kabarebe, invaded the Congo with the former president Laurent Kabila. Then they took over the Congo. He was awarded the post of military chief of staff, even though he was Rwandan, born in Uganda, came to Rwanda fighting. After fighting the war in Rwanda, went into the Congo, fought another war. And Kambale refers to these, and I agree. I refer to them also as criminals without borders. General James Kabarebe, and who is an advisor to Paul Kagame, known as a Pan-African, but this is going to dispel that label. So this general, again, a Ghanaian, comes invading Nigeria. They take over. He gets awarded a post. Then he loses it, and he leaves, and then claims, "Oh yeah, I'm back to being Ghanaian." I just wanted to explain that. I hope it's clear now that you understand that Congo was invaded. The violence that is killed 6 million people in the Congo since 1996. Today makes 25 years since the invasion of the Congo. That violence was exported from Rwanda and from Uganda. And today the Congolese are living with the consequences of that war, and actually it's still going on today. Thank you. That's all I wanted to add.
Wow, thank you so much for that explanation. Akin, you wanted to go ahead before I ask Benedict a question.
Yeah, so it's a lot of eye-opening information. I think for many of us, we rely on the media to again bring some of these events and atrocities to the forefront. But again, as Claude stated, as Kambalit stated equally, there's a lot of suppression of information, by the powers that be. I think when you reference those, we're obviously talking about, interest in the West, because I think a unified Africa is an Africa that stands up for itself. When, we see any types of issues like this now, um, beyond social media and us having ability to build these bridges for Kambale, for Benedicte, what are things you feel that, us here in Nigeria and other African nations surrounding, Congo and Rwanda can help do with regards to bringing, these issues to the forefront? Now, for example, Congo is bleeding hashtag. I'm going to push it on my Instagram page. I'm sure I'm going to get 3, 4, 5 DMs saying, what's this all about? But then, what are resources people can refer to, and just share your thoughts in general. And Reno, you can piggyback on my question if you have any follow-ups.
Yeah. I think Claudia can go ahead and answer that. Hi, Claude, are you there?
Yes, I apologize.
Okay,
I thought the question
before
was going to
that question,
Benedict. Go ahead,
yeah,
but I don't
Olden, I
mind.
wanted to ask Benedict, the question. So I wanted to the question I wanted to ask Benedict, which is very important also in the Nigerian context, which I think I asked a bit to Shinani, to Kambale rather, that there was a news article, I read regarding, I think, was it a protest this year or was it last year, where the military and police officers killed a lot of people, during the protest. I mean, I think were they trying to curb the protest or something? Um, I is it yeah, that was, I think that was in 2020, where the Congolese authorities cracked down on peaceful protesters and all of that. And then also I wanted to know a bit more about that. Also, I wanted to also ask regarding how a certain senior officer, if I could recall his name, is it John Numbi, was removed, and then somebody else was taken to court and sanctioned, and then there were other people that were also involved in the corruption who were never sanctioned. So I wanted to, this going back and forth is just to get a picture of the level of corruption in the Congolese government, and how impunity has reigned, this far. Because when you talked about these issues, I wonder I wonder where exactly does the government come into, the equation? What exactly is the government doing about this? That was my first question. But then I read about the crackdown on protesters, the human rights abuses, and I said, oh wow, so they are not dead after all. So if Benedict can, please answer that question. I wanted to know why the Congolese authorities cracked down on peaceful protesters and journalists and all of that last year.
As per the journalist, this was just some months ago that we saw a journalist beaten, and there was of course, an outcry all around the world, because he was working also for French radio news, so that's why it was also very much publicized. But I think that you have to go back to what Kambale has said in order to understand why the government is not a government. And I think that people have to understand that when we talk about Congo, we talk about a failed state. And a failed state is a state that is going to produce violence against its people. And because the successive governments in the Congo since that war started were always under the spell or even under the command, should we say, of Rwanda, Uganda, and also the Western countries. They act as like a mob. Actually, they are a mafia, and they are just attacking the population. They are not there to protect them, and whenever they can produce violence against that population, they're going to do so. So in that context, people should not be astonished about what has been happening in the Congo. There is no government in Congo that has been a legitimate government. All the elections were rigged. So in that sense, we have to understand that those governments don't owe anything to the people, because they know perfectly that they are not the one who chose them, but all the think tank, all the lobbies, and all the foreign governments outside the African continent actually choose them. So they have to address those people whenever there is problem, and that chaos in the Congo, of course, is something that is very beneficial for all the multinational that are operating in a country and that are taking all those mineral out. They need to have weak governments in order for them to operate. And if we don't understand that dynamic, we will not understand why the so-called Congolese government is cracking down on people, is repressing demonstration, putting people in prison without any form of justice. And you were talking about people who went to jail because they were corrupt, but this was the I think the cabinet director of the new so-called president. But also there, I mean, the trial was more something of a farce than a real trial. They needed to show the people that this was a new government and they were going to prosecute people because there were corruptions. But at the same time, we have to say today, the person who is supposed to be in prison today, he's not in prison. And people, and a lot of Congolese do as if, he was there, but he's not in prison. He's somewhere in Kinshasa and waiting for his time. And this must be clear. So just to show that everything it's a farce, really. A macabre one, but it's a farce none the way. So nothing is substantial, because we need to understand that we deal with a failed state. And the failed state is not there to protect people, but it's there to address people. If they can eliminate some of them, they're going to do that. And this is what is happening in the Congo. And unfortunately, in a certain way, the politicians in the Congo are the kind of people who actually always wait for them to be chosen, co-opted by Western powers in order to come to access power. But they don't have any ideological or even project for society. But at the same time, Congolese people are longing so much, yearning for freedom and for democracy, that they don't hesitate to go out when they call them. And even though they know that the state, the government is going to attack them and is going to kill some of them, arrest some of them. And this is the game that has been going on for the last 25 years almost.
Wow, Benedict, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Um while I was reading also on the Congo issue, I also saw that the freedom of expression, the peaceful assembly, media in the Congo is almost similar to that of Nigeria. I mean, where dozens of people who are criticizing government policies, even on social media, are being intimidated, threatened. You talk about the journalist that was beaten, people are being arrested, people are being persecuted. I mean, currently in Nigeria, we have the Twitter ban. Many people that are on this space are also using VPN to join in the space, as our government has deemed Twitter a threat to their government, and they're currently cracking down on Twitter. Also, we have a lot of NBC sanctions to media stations that are there, air something that the government do not like, so they will instantly fine them or sanction them or something. So I wanted to ask Claudia about the media space currently in Congo. What is it looking like?
Um, it's interesting. The media space in Congo, especially previously, and even now, what you're saying here is it's like copycat. You know, dictators copy each other. You know, when they want to suppress, the population from talking, they'll shut down all social media. You know, this is something that's happened previously in the Congo. And the fact that social media is considered a threat is something that is recurring, not only in Congo, by the way, but in the whole region, where the dictators in the region continue to basically say, you know they want to crack down on the use of social media. People are arrested for speaking on social media, for doing expressing their freedom of speech on social media. But as you can see, the attack on journalists, the attacks on activists, the attacks on people who are protesting, and all of that. By the way, this is something that's been happening for many, many years. I know we talked about this one, the recent occurrence in the Congo, but it's been happening for a long time. And it shows the resilience of the Congolese people. And shout out to the Congolese people and the Nigerian people, because what we saw last year with the massacre by the Nigerian police on those young protesters is the same thing that we have seen for years, over and over in the Congo. But I wanted to, in addition to the media piece, if you don't mind, I wanted to also bring up a really important item that I think, and maybe you plan to get to it, but the key to all of this, understanding the interconnectedness of the use of tribalism and tribalism, but especially by, again, Western puppets. Kambale talked about how back in slavery you had African collaborators. What we have now are these so-called presidents in the region, who are the agents of the slave masters, of those who want to suppress the Africans, and the key to it is justice. And so we talked about the Congo is bleeding hashtag, but I also want to highlight the work of Dr. Mukwege. That goes to answering your question on media and the use of and the suppression of media. He's someone that is, has been not only speaking up on the issues of the Congo and calling for justice, based on another hashtag, please, mapping report. Mapping report the mapping report itself is a document that was put together by the UN, documenting the most important, not important, the worst types of crimes committed in the Congo for over 10 years, between 1993 and 2003, which is the deadliest period in the Congo. It's the deadliest period, short period in the history of Congo, in the history of the region, the deadliest conflict in the world since World War II. This document has been collecting dust at the UN. And you asked earlier, I think Akin asked earlier, what can people do? I didn't want to go without answering that question. What can fellow Africans do? What can Nigerians do? What can everybody around the world do? One is to raise awareness about the importance of the recommendations in the mapping report. So start tweeting out not only Congo is bleeding, but include mapping report. The mapping report itself documents just the major crimes. So it's very limited. 617 incidents, horrible massacres, a horror movie, the worst horror movie that you can look at. But it's only 617 incidents. There is more than that. It talks about genocide being committed in the Congo. mass rapes, I mean, all kinds of plundering of resources, all kinds of things that were done and still are being done to the Congolese. And the reason why they keep happening is because of impunity. People commit crimes and they get away with them. And what we want to see the our brothers and sisters in Nigeria, what we want to see our brothers and sisters on the continent of Africa and the diaspora, what we want to see the world do is to push for an implementation of the recommendations of the mapping report. And we know this can be done because we've seen other movements previously when they are global, when they are all over the continent, that we actually, it makes a difference. So we want to call for solidarity around the mapping report. I keep repeating it because we don't just want it to be a document that documents what happened. We want to make sure that there's international tribunals to try the most responsible for the crimes committed in the Congo. That is going to send a message. That is going to make it to where those who dream of killing Africans, killing Congolese, in order to serve their economic interest, personal interest, or interest of the West, that they're not going to get away with it. There's a great example of Hissène Habré, the former dictator in Chad. He was also a puppet of the West. He was supported by the Americans and the French. During that time, he could kill and get away with it. He could jail and get away with it. He could torture and get away with it. But he was tried in an African court in Senegal and now is serving time because the people never gave up. And for us, it's very important that we do not let our people, die in vain. And one of the things that I like to say is we did not survive genocides to remain silent. We did not survive genocides to say nothing or to do nothing. And when you hear stories of people who've survived it, like I have, and Benedict talked about her own experience, in the same way that when I hear you, Reno, speak about your sister being killed by the police, I can't just look the other way. That is privilege. We have a privilege to be able to look away. But the reason why we have privilege is actually so we can use it to bring that privilege to others. And I call on the Nigerians and the rest of Africa and the rest of the world to join us in the pursuit of justice. Look up Dr. Denis Mukwege and the work that he's doing. Look up Congolese activists like Kambale and Benedict and the work that they're doing to pursue justice for the mapping report. That is what you can do. Help us achieve justice for the 6 million Congolese people that were killed.
But maybe can I add something to what you have just
Yeah, hold
said?
on, Benedict. I just wanted to correct Cody. My sister wasn't killed. I was talking about Tina. Her name was Tina.
Okay.
I think you heard that wrong. Tina
Thank you.
Ezekwe. She was a 16-year-old girl that was killed last year, May. So I just wanted to correct that. Please,
Thank you,
Benedict,
Reno.
go ahead.
Yes, it's just in relation to the media because you also asked this question about the media. I'll just give an example now. We have this campaign going on with the mapping report, and I myself very much involved as Kambale is, and I am the spokesperson of an organization called COPAX, which is Congolese Conscience for Peace, and we work with Dr. Mukwege. But we need to really make that report known to our Congolese people. But if you take, for instance, a city like Kisangani, which is northeast, this city has no electricity now for almost 6 months. No, yeah, 6 or 3 months. So how do you want people to get access media if they don't have electricity, if nothing is working? A very I think very tiny amount of people maybe can access the social media and maybe see what's going on, but still they need to charge their phone in order to access that. But if they don't have electricity, it's not going to work, and the government is not doing anything against that. So just to show that as per the media, people really don't have access to information. When there is a television, when there is a radio, they are most of the time the possession of politics in the Congo. So it's very difficult also for people really to broadcast information that is really also relevant for the people. Uh, just to say that the majority of Congo actually is kept in the dark, and the information is just getting to some people. Those who have access to the social media can see maybe what is happening, and there is no way. It's really hard for Congolese really to know. For instance, if you are in the western part of the country, it's very hard to know what is happening in the east, because the national television would not talk about the massacres, would not talk about that report. And this is done by design in order really to weaken people, and don't give them the opportunity maybe to raise up and really fight for for what they need to fight for. And this is really something that is, it's just monstrous what is happening on that level. And I think that we can take all aspects of life in Congo. You'll have the same tricks that are played on people. You have the same violence that is exercised on people. And but as per the media, is very difficult. And for us here working on this campaign and the mapping report, we really have to be ingenious in order to bring that information, organizing webinars and renting some places where we will project that with our own money in order for people to get the information. Because if we wait for the government, if we wait for the politicians and the radio and the televisions, it's not going to work. And moreover, people who have television are the pastors, and those people are just indoctrinating people, talking about the devil all the day long, that people have to get rid of the devil, and all these kind of subjects that are not empowering people. And it's really a problem. The media is really a problem.
You see, Benedict, when while you were talking, I was just, like I said, wondering if you were talking about Nigeria. Okay, is it in Zamfara and is it Zamfara and Sokoto? And I think Zamfara and one other state now, where there have been total shutdown of cellular networks, telecommunication networks, in two states now in Nigeria, citing terrorism issues and all of that. So currently, people cannot get access to not even the internet, but then just to make calls and all of that. There's no access. I don't know if that has been lifted. And then, I talked to you about how we don't have Twitter or NBC is being sanctioned. I mean, some media stations cannot even invite someone like me or Aki or someone that they know that would say something really triggering to the not the Nigerian citizen, but then someone that would say speak truth to power and say something triggering to Nigerian authorities, because they would be shut down. They will either try to cut you off hair or or something like that. And those actions, people know who has been in charge of that. Our popular minister of disinformation or misinformation, Lai Mohammed. But then, yes, I think that most of what you said, Benedict, Claude, and Kambale are very, you know, they're interwoven, or they are almost similar to what is happening in Nigeria. I mean, we have issues of terrorism here. We have issues of extrajudicial killings. You talked about how almost 6 million Congolese have been killed. I don't know if we have like a certain figure for people that have been actually killed in Nigeria, but then thousands, hundreds of thousands of people are dying. I mean, you just hear about some elders killing some people, or some bandits killing people, or terrorists killing people, or even our security forces are killing us. That's how worse it is. So I just wanted to throw in that you can also ask questions regarding what you think you're not clear on. I and Aki are available to answer that. So it's not just we throwing the questions, at you. I'm also going to ask people to come up. I have people requesting to come up and ask questions or make contributions. So
Yeah,
they'll be
so
coming up
Reno,
in a short while.
let's bring a few people up, and while we do that, Kambale, Benedict, Claude, there's something that we've equally seen become a pattern. In previous decades, dictators, let me call them that, and people that have committed, severe crimes against humanity find themselves in position of power, and they typically just wear that bad man tag. But in recent years, we've seen this, what I call evolution or image making, where they transition into public office holders and they go to great lengths with whitewashing history, wiping away all of those, what I call evil deeds, as they become, what I call the faces of progress in their countries. So, talking about Kagame, for example, in Rwanda, equally looking at the Congo, how do you think citizens, in these countries can continue pushing back where these people try to turn the corner and fool the rest of the world that they've repented from their evil ways? I mean, because again, if I take Nigeria, for example, we have a dictator that's become a democratically elected president. Again, they go through this transformation of image and position themselves as saints. Is it a pattern that is becoming our new reality? What can we do differently? And Reno, as we take these questions, we can bring people up on stage. But go ahead, Kambale.
While you were saying that, I was smiling so hard because I spend a lot of time in West Africa, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen a young person from West Africa tell me, be it in Ghana, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, or they will say things such as, "Man, Paul Kagame is an exemplary leader. No, look at Rwanda; it's very clean." And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, in your country, people don't have broom to sweep. It's very interesting the simplification of even that. I usually use the example of Cape Town. If you go to Cape Town and you see it clean, does it mean that there was no apartheid regime in South Africa? Right? So the oppression still exists. I mean, this is really a challenge for young Africans to get the information about what is happening on the African continent. Whenever you see Western nations usually laud or praise an African leader, every African should be worried. When you hear Bill Clinton talk about Paul Kagame, you should be worried. When you hear Tony Blair talks about Paul Kagame, you should be worried. And whenever we use these examples of how Rwanda is developed, who is giving us these figures? Where are these figures coming from? And what does it mean for development when a country of almost half of its budget is funded by foreign donors, like the UK and the United States and so on? Literally, the country's budget is funded by that. And then coming back to the point you made about Nigeria, I mean, I was already worried about the Nigerian president when he had a meeting, a Zoom meeting with the U.S. Secretary of State. And he actually asked the U.S. Secretary of State to bring AFRICOM, the U.S. military command, to Africa. That the base should not be in Stuttgart, Germany. It should be in an African country to address African issues. That got me worried. I said, what's going on? Because I already knew that he had allowed U.S. drones to fly across the Sahel region and in Nigeria and bringing U.S. troops. But now inviting Africa already made me worry. Outside of the internal issues in Nigeria. I mean, for Africans now, right? We have social media. We are discussing these issues. I usually want to bring back what our forefathers did. In 1945, young Africans met in Manchester, in the UK. And when they met there, it was the Fifth Pan-African Congress that they were meeting about. Right at the end of World War II, young Africans from the United States, from the Caribbean, from the continental Africa, all met there. Kwame Nkrumah was there. Padmore was there. Dubois was there. They did not have a Twitter account. They did not have a Facebook account, but they discussed very important issues. One of the most important issues they discussed was the liberation of the African continent to make sure that African nations, right after the end of World War II, that they should not be colonized. They should be independent. From 1945 to 1960, we saw concretely what they did to mobilize on the ground for this change. What's challenging for us now, as we're hearing the similarity in the issues, is after this Twitter space discussion, after this online discussion, how will we on this call engage for the liberation of Africa? Because it's critical. 2021 is going to be a historical year for the African continent. There has been in 2021 four military coups. I don't remember a year where we had these military coups on the African continent, right? The violence is being normalized. What does that do to our psyche? When in 2010, the internet was being cut off in DRC, most people did not know it was happening. When in 2011, it was happening, most people did not know. It happened in Zambia. It's even happened in Ferguson in the United States. I was in Missouri, in Ferguson. I remember being in the protest. Nobody could make phone calls. Nobody could post online. They literally blocked the access to the internet in a city in the United States. Nobody cared around the world. But this is a technology that's being shared all across Africa. Fundamental questions young Africans have to ask themselves. If a police officer in Congo looks like RoboCop, and a police officer in Nigeria looks like RoboCop, where is the Nigerian police buying its equipment? Where is the Congolese police buying its equipment? If we are discussing on WhatsApp in Congo, and we found ourselves arrested by the Secret Service in DRC, many activists have been arrested during the protests from 2015 to 2018 over conversation that they had on WhatsApp, literally put in prison and torture. And the same thing is happening in Nigeria. The fundamental question we should ask ourselves, who is selling the Nigerian government and the Congolese government the security, intelligence, and surveillance tools to spy on the citizen, to oppress the citizen? The weapons and the gas canister that was used in Lekki, where did that come from? Then we mobilize across the African continent against those forces. We did that during apartheid. We made sure that the South African government that was implementing an apartheid regime knew that nowhere around the world that they would be able to travel easily, get access to financial resources and so on. There was a boycott divestment program. And I will end by saying that at the African Union today, the Congolese as a country is chairing them. The Congolese president is the chair of the African Union. And as the chair of the African Union, he is doing things that every African should be seriously worried about. There was a coup in Chad. He traveled to Chad with the French president. Was the only African president there, pretty much thanking the leaders who did the coup. As the African Union chairman, he has facilitated the giving of the credential. The Israeli government has given its credential to be a member of the African Union. And the chairman of the commission, Faki Mahamat, has accepted these credentials, and DRC has played a role in making sure that Israel becomes a member of the African Union. And he was just in Israel this past week, the DRC president. As he is doing that, right, many Africans are not understanding why this is problematic. Why first should Israel become a member state of the African Union? That's another discussion to have another day. But secondly, do Africans know that beside the United States and the United Kingdom, that Israel provide the same tools that's oppressing us, that's killing us, that's spying on us, that when we say that our government is oppressing the protesters, that this technology is coming from Israel. And the president of DRC is supporting that country and has made it possible for Israel to become there. So as we talk about these injustice and connections, my hope is coming out of this Twitter space, not to leave it as a discussion. There should be a fundamental unity of African people under the banner of Pan-Africanism, just as we did in 1945, saying that every single African country needs to be free. Western Sahara needs to be free. Let's make sure that those who committed the killing in Lekki are brought to justice and that Nigerians can control their affairs. Let's make sure that in the Congo, activists don't have to worry about what they're writing on WhatsApp if they want to change their country. Let's make sure that right in Rwanda, if you are a YouTuber like Idamanji, you are speaking about what you think the future of your country is, you are not put in jail because you are saying something that's against the president or against the regime, that you are jailed for a YouTube video and messages that you are putting out there. If we unite and push the narrative where young Africans are actually much more engaged in the political affairs of the country so that they can determine their own affairs, we can have a chance at stopping those who are enabling them. The power is not coming from the African people. The power is coming from those who are providing them the weapons, the technology to oppress us. And we need to unite to challenge this narrative so that we all can be free wherever we are.
Thank you very much for that.
And
Kambale.
if I can just add something that to what Kambale said, because I think it's also important, is that we also have to really start saying that what they present us with as election and democracy is not what we're seeing, because the dictators on that continent accustomed themselves very well with elections, and that's why it cannot be the solution for our country and our youth. We really need to go deeper than that and change radically our societies, because those people, as they don't respond to us, they know that they can just fake it. They know that they can just bring some ballot and people put their vote and then trick the elections and say they had a democratic and fair elections, and they are not going to be sanctioned by the outside because they are the one to whom they respond. So we really have to change our mindset on that question of elections as well, and really understand that yes, we need a revolution about all over Africa, but that will tend to the same demands everywhere. And that maybe that way we can become a force, really, not just a Congolese force or a Nigerian force, but an African force, because we all have the same demand. And each one of you is going to understand very well what is happening in each other's countries. And I think this is something really important to have in mind too.
Thank you very much, Benedict. I was about to go exactly to the issues of elections. And I understand that in Congo, elections, I think elections held, is it 2020 or 2019 in Congo, where Felix was, you know, elected into presidency. And then one thing that resonated to me when you talked about how we think that democracy is what we're practicing in Africa, but it is not. So Nigeria has elections coming up in 2023, and then that elections is fraught with a lot of tension. We literally have terrorism plaguing us in the north, east, and we have succession cries, all over the country, saying that Nigeria needs to break up. Um, we also have a lot of ethnic, you know, religious conflicts among each other, and then many people do not even know if elections are going to hold. But I think that elections are going to hold. However, how those elections will hold is what I do not know, because I think that this government is very keen people to run power anytime soon. So lessons did people in Congo learn from the previous election? That's question one. When next is the election in Congo coming up? That's question two. What are activists currently doing regarding the elections that are coming up? Is it going to be a boycott? Is it going to be encouraging people to actually participate in the elections? And four is what lessons or what advice would you give to activists that are currently looking at the upcoming elections in Nigeria as a way to change the governance structures in the country or to help impact the governance structures in the country? So, with those four questions, did I get those four questions? So before, yeah.
Yeah,
So
let's
before
take
you
four
answer,
questions. Yes, go ahead.
yeah. So before you answer that, I wanted Toyib to come in. Hi, Toyib. How you doing?
Hi, Reno. Hi, Akin. Hi to all of our guests. Good day to you wherever you are. I'm doing very well, thanks.
Hello, hello.
All right, welcome. So you wanted to chip something in?
Yes. Thank you to all of our guests from the Democratic Republic of Congo. We really glad to have you speaking to us about these issues. I was just tweeting something this week about Congo because I have a couple of friends here in United Kingdom and we chat about African issues all the time. I was reading that Congo sits on natural resources that is worth about 24 trillion US dollars. The whole of Africa, we have a total debt just about 1 trillion. So we are sitting on assets that are worth that much, and everybody wants to have a take on it. Everybody wants to grab it. And we have so much people living in poor conditions in that kind of country. Congo shares borders with 9 countries in the world. You only have like Brazil, I think Russia, that are above Congo in terms of sharing borders with neighboring countries. Congo is rich. We shouldn't be having this discussion in 2021. But unfortunately, you know, we've talked about African Union as well. You tend to think, what accountability do these leaders have to a continent that has probably the youngest population in the whole world? A lot of us are below 30, 20. What are exactly is the hope for us when our leaders are using extreme force to stay in power, shoot at young people? And for Nigerians, it lets us understand that whatever is happening to us now is not peculiar to us alone. If you go to Zimbabwe, the youths are crying. If you just go all around, you will just see that the youths want something better. Our colleagues in Europe, when they finish school, they expect to get a job. They expect to live well. They don't even care who the president is. They pick their passport, they go to Spain and party. You know, in the first of the new year, when we are praying and praying and praying for God to deliver us into the new year, London youths are drinking. They are falling inside the gutter. The ambulance is everywhere, carrying people to the hospital. But we in Africa, we will pray into the new year, whereas our leaders are just sharing the national cake as much as they can. I was in Ghana recently, and I was on the River Volta, and I saw the suspension bridge that was built by Kwame Nkrumah in the 60s. And as a construction professional, I'm thinking, if Kwame Nkrumah is thinking about suspension bridge as far back as 1960, what are African leaders today thinking about? It calls for us to continue this job, take it offline. As much as we have it online, we must take it offline because our leaders have kind of perfected this democracy kind of gimmick to show the world that they are actually in a democracy when we are not in a democracy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Toib. I was trying to type something regarding what you said last, that if Kwame Nkrumah was thinking about extension bridges in the 1930s, currently today, what are African leaders thinking about? And then I can go on and on about how African leaders are thinking of stealing money. How Lai Mohammed is thinking of going on the next media show to make a debacle and ridicule of himself. I can go on and on about how they don't really and not even thinking. Are they thinking at all? So thank you so much Toib, for that. Also, I see Elnathan in the house. Hi, Elnathan. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for joining Wale and everybody else. I saw a journalist in the room the other time, but then I can't see him any longer. If you can come back, please do. If you want to ask guest questions, kindly request, and I'll be glad to give you the mic to ask them questions. So, my four questions. One was, what lessons did activists learn, activists in Congo learned from the previous election that held in Congo? Two, currently Nigeria is looking at our upcoming elections. It's literally like going to be in a year from now, a year and 3 months from now. Um, what lessons do you think we have to learn from Congo elections? So what do you think we have to do? Currently, there are cries of secession, there's terrorism all over the country. Would you advise a boycott or a participation, in the elections, considering the fact that we're not even really practicing a democracy, like Benedict said? Also, is Congo having any elections, that is coming up very soon, and what are activists currently doing in that regard? So these are the four questions. Anybody, can answer those questions. Claude, Kambale, Benedict, please.
Okay. You ask a lot of questions, so I'll try to see which one I can pick. I'm from the firm belief that fundamental change comes from an organizing force within a country. It will be hard to advise Nigerians on what to do if they have not yet built a strong grassroots organized force within the country to challenge the violence that's there. My observation from the outside of the Nigerian movement is that the people in the country are ready for change. The tension that we see is clear. It's almost as in DRC. The people in DRC are ready for change. But the tools that we are using will not bring the fundamental change that we want to see, right? Think about the colonial era. People trying to reform the colonial system to say, well, we're not going to beat you up 10 times on the back. Now we'll beat you 5 times, or we'll give you access to downtown because you're under colonial regime. There were people who fought for a reform of the colonial system. But there were those who say, we want independence now, right? And those were the Krumas and other liberation leader, movement leader, independence leaders at the time, that they really wanted to transform the system. Elections, the election practice that we are seeing on the African continent, be it in Congo or Nigeria, will not bring the fundamental change that we need to see on the ground. I mean, imagine the Lekki massacre a year later, there is still no justice for that. So my hope is that there will be an organizing force within the Congo, within the DRC, a mass organization with clear ideological lining saying this is what we want. Kwame Nkrumah did not beat around the bush about what he wanted. He wanted a united Africa under the banner of scientific socialism. They didn't hide the socialism term somewhere and say we're going to do our own African version of a socialism. He said it clearly, no? A united Africa under the banner of socialism. And in his Independence Day speech, he said it, right? He said that the independence of Ghana, the liberation of Ghana, is meaningless if it is not tied to the total liberation of the African continent. So no matter how many elections Nigeria have, how much peaceful Cape Verde is, how we study Swaziland, or how we study, for example, Botswana and what they do with the mineral resources. I said this is an example country. Their stability has no impact to the total liberation of Africa if whatever they're doing is not tied to the African continent. But what lessons have we learned during the election exercise? We've learned that we have to have other channel of communications. Too many times, our internet has been shut off. Our SMS has been shut off. Our direct calls has been shut off. So people had no means of communication. But thankfully, people have found ways to communicate outside of those systems. And those who actually communicated much better from studies that's coming out now some of the underprivileged youth who have no formal education, but sometimes they'll call them kuluna, sometimes they'll call them shege, and so on. But these underprivileged youth know how to pass the information across the entire city of Kinshasa without a cell phone within minutes. They figure out communication systems. So creating alternative means of communicating that is not based on technology, especially knowing that technology has gotten many of our comrades arrested because of conversation they had on WhatsApp, is something that that should be shared. And last, the people should not be disappointed with the election results. As long as we engage in electoral piece of bourgeois politics, we will find ourselves always with election result that does not reflect the aspiration of the people of that country. So we have to create alternatives. We've seen alternatives. Let's look into Latin America. What did the people of Latin America, what did they do to come up with a leftist solution to the challenges? And last, I will touch on is Congo having an election soon. We're having an election in 2023. If you look at the facts on the ground now, these elections are already geared towards failure, meaning that it's going to be another rigged election. This is so predictable. Why am I saying so? The new president, Felix Tshisekedi, has appointed new constitutional court judges who will be a determining factor in the election results. That's what usually happens in this rigged election, right? You look at Guinea. In the end, it was the constitutional court judges who certify the election result. So he has already put new judges who will rule in his favor if there is a contention in the election. The head of the Electoral Commission is someone that's directly connected to him, from his tribe, from his religious belief, from personal connection. So he has actually the head of the Electoral Commission should not be there because of conflict of interest, but he's there. He's been appointed. He's going to be running that. And he has maneuvered the parliament by bribing members of parliament for passing certain laws, passing certain regulations, which are already showing us that 2023 is going towards rigged election. But our focus, at least the people that we work with, is not the election in 2023. Our focus is to share with Congolese and continue to remind the Congolese people of their power, of what they're able to do. Because we're talking about Felix Tshisekedi, but we're forgetting that Felix Tshisekedi will not exist, even with the rigged election, if it wasn't for the will of the Congolese people. There was a valiant fight of the Congolese youth from 2010 to 2018 when we had the election. Why am I saying this? In 2016, we had to have a presidential election. The former president, Joseph Kabila, was determined to stay for a third term. He did everything in his power to try to change government institutions to make sure that he is still in power. But that did not succeed. Congolese went to the street. They mobilized and organized. They arrested, talking about the killing of young Congolese. Rossi Chimanga, a young Congolese who was killed inside of a church while protecting church members who were trying to come out for a protest, right? That showed the strength of the youth, and his brutal killing still inspires of those young Congolese who are fighting for justice to see a new Congo. But unfortunately, they were disappointed with the result. But where the Congolese people were before 2018, and their actions show that they want change. So that's what we're reminding them, that we know in 2023 there will be a rigged election. That's not most important. What's important for us to question is, from 2019, when Felix took power, to 2023, what has been his achievement? What roads has he built? Do we have power, electricity, right? Do we have water? Do we have peace and stability? If those concrete changes are not there, why are we continuing every 5 years to do an exercise that's so futile and remind the Congolese people that it's not about the election. It's about making sure that whoever we elect know that their power comes from the people, that at any time the people can demand they're no longer representing them. And that dynamic of power is non-existent because the people who are in power have the guns and the weapons and are supported by the outside. And the balance of forces with the people need to get stronger so that they're no longer intimidated by the violence of the state, that they are transforming. And that's what we are fighting for. We know there will be a rigged election, but we are spending more time educating the people about the consequences of continuing the electoral process by demanding that they take the matters into their own hand and transform the country much more radically than the election.
So, Kamale, I have many questions to ask from what you said, what you just said, but then I wanted to ask Benedict if you have anything to add to the questions, if you think Kamale missed anything to add to the questions, or Claudie.
But
Okay, Benedict, please go ahead.
yeah, but I think it's very important, of course, to encourage our youth and remind them of what they've been doing and what they've done in the past. But I think it's also important to also talk about the weaknesses, because what happened in 2018 when those elections were rigged once again, it was a major silence from all Congolese. And people knew that those elections were rigged. But at the same time, because we had this problem with Kabila, then people admitted in a certain way, Tshisekedi saying, okay, we're going to let him and see, even though we knew that those elections were rigged. So what I think it's important also for our people to know, and I will say that for all Africans, is that we never have to tolerate any rigged elections, even though the person is replacing maybe somebody we hated so much, and even though it was rigged and it is we think that it's going to be better than before, but these are principles, and if we don't stick to our principles, we are going to have problems, because as Kambale said, what is happening, why are we going to have rigged elections? It's because Congo kept silent when the last elections were rigged, because Congo was yearning so much of getting rid of Kabila that it was necessary for them just to see him go. But at the same time, he's still in the game. And I'm not sure that the elections are going to be rigged for me in the obvious way as they used to do it. But we might be astonished that the Electoral Commission might maybe bring us another person, not Chisekedi, and say that he actually did the will of the people, because we all thought that they were going to be rigged in a certain form, meaning that they are going to reconduct Chisekedi, but we might see somebody else coming, but the numbers are not going to fit actually the reality. So that's why I think that we need really to be cautious here. Just going from the fact, of course, that the elections are going to be rigged, but as Kambale has said, is the question is, what do we want? If we just want elections, so fine, let's go on like that and just play this game again and again. But if we want a society, that functions, if we want peace, then we have to ask ourselves other questions. And I think that, as Kambale has said, we cannot judge for Nigeria what is better for them, because you are also dealing with that. We can maybe talk about Congo so that you can have an idea. But I think at the same time that the question about what we want is as valid for Congo and for Nigeria. And the answer that we give has to be clear, so that we don't play those games and we don't engage into electoral process that are going actually to disappoint us. If our goal is to have new society, functioning societies, peaceful societies. It's not going to be with all those people that we've seen around. And let's just count the years. If you take, I'm sure in Nigeria, like it's in Congo, all those people are being in the landscape for how many years have been that? I mean, they are there for so long time. So we just have to ask ourselves, say, they are there for such a long time and they were not able to do anything. So why tomorrow are they going to succeed in something? Why are they going to succeed in anything? So that's why it's really necessary to ask ourselves the question of what we want and to have a clear answer to that and stick to our answer and not try to play games and tricks, with our own words. Because at the end of the day, if we just accept certain path or to take certain path, at the end we are the only person we are hurting, because we are the one who are going to live in a society that is not going to function and where we will always be shouting against governments that are not governments. So this is what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much, Benedict. And then I remember when you said that the people that have always been around are the ones we keep electing. I know many Nigerians in the room can relate because currently we have the elections coming up, and then it seems like we are recycling leaders that have been in power and have nothing, practically nothing to show for it except from loss of lives and properties, are still the ones we are intending to recycle. People that have been in power for the last 20, 21, 22 years are the ones we still think they deserve to be in power. The same mistake that we made in 2015, which has gotten us in this unfortunate situation, by the way, is what many Nigerians are still thinking they need to make again in 2023. And for me, it is very, how do I say it? It's important to me because I'm a young lady, and then I think that say I'm 25 now, which I'm not, but then let's say I'm 25 now, and then we elect another. I like to call them criminals. Please, just forgive me. We elect another criminal into power.
Thank you.
For the next 8 years. That means I'd be say 33, and then I'd still be carrying placards and still be saying Nigeria has to be better. It's ridiculous, really, how we decide in Africa, and how the future of young people often get filtered away. How young people are often at a disadvantage to their counterparts in the Western world. It's a shame, really. But then I wanted to ask why Kambale was going on that he said something about people in Congo deciding to get the former president out in was it in 2018 or 2019. The people vote then to get Felix into power. I wanted to first ask that question. Was the former president voted out? Kambale.
The president was voted out. The result does not reflect what the people voted for. The unlikely winner was declared the winner of the election. And I mean, it's a fascinating electoral game that I think many people need to study really what happened in 2018 in DRC. Um, the repression was so strong in DRC that people could not even protest, right? And as they protested, they were even killed. It got so bad that people were using soccer game, football, right? Football game to protest. So I'll use a scenario. Congo has a game with Nigeria, and the Congolese team scores. When they score and the stadium is celebrating, instead of the stadium celebrating about the score, they are saying, Kabila oyebela mande sili eloko nini silakate. Which means the people in the stadium are saying, Kabila, you need to know that your term is over, everything has an end. I don't know if you understand, but people don't have space to protest that they're going to football matches using the team winning, scoring as a moment to do chants of protests. So the tension was so strong that the person who is the likely winner, Martin Fayulu, if another result came out that day, there would have been, I don't know even how to describe. People were ready to die that day. Say that if Kabila announces the election result, announces that the person that he chose was the winner, there will be mass protests in the country. And the person that he chose was Emmanuel Shadari. Right? So everyone was waiting to hear on TV that Emmanuel Shadari is the winner of the election, so people will hit the streets. In a strange secret deal that we know today, officially we know that there was a secret deal between the current president and Kabila in front of representative of Kenya, in front of representative of Egypt, and in front of representative of South Africa, where they cut a secret deal that stated, one, Kabila will not be tracked down for justice, and his assets will not be tampered with, held, or anything. Right? So we know that today, not because I'm saying that. It's been written in Africa Confidential, in Jeune Afrique. We know that there was this secret deal. So on the day of the day to announce the election, instead of announcing that Martin Fayulu won, they announced another opposition leader, Felix Tshisekedi, as the winner of the election. The result have been, we know that he did not win this election, right? But because of the strategy of choosing someone else within the opposition, it divides out the people. Because some people say, well, maybe he could have won, right? Because it's the camp, it's like what Nigerians are doing today, right? You are fighting, saying that Buhari has to leave. Everyone, no, let's say Nigerians unite. So we gotta make sure that Buhari doesn't win. And if you take a poll, you have an idea who will likely win. And the day of the elections, instead of the likely winner being announced, someone who has no base, no strong base, no mobilization of the 150 million Nigerians is announced the winner. And that person chosen in Nigeria is among those who fought for Buhari with the opposition for Buhari to be out. So what that does is split the opposition in Nigeria. And that's what unfolded in DRC. So we know Felix did not win the election. We understand that there was a secret deal between Kabila and him to make sure that he's announced the winner. And since he became president, he's done everything that he said he will do in that secret deal. That's no longer secret. He has not gone after Kabila for the crimes that he has committed. He has not touched on Kabila's assets. And he has made much more deals now, questionable deals about Congo's resources, such as signing a deal with Rwanda where for 80 years, Rwanda will refine Congo's gold. Something everyone is wondering, how in the world he signed this? He signed a deal with Kenya, bringing Kenyan troops in DRC. So he's playing the perfect role that he was placed there for, and while disengaging the opposition, which is now a split opposition because you're no longer fighting Kabila, you're fighting amongst yourself. And that could also happen in Nigeria. Someone who's not the likely winner announced, and it will split the opposition while you are focusing on fighting Buhari. And that's the point that Benedict mentioned earlier about we need to pay attention about what actually unfolded in DRC in 2018.
Okay, because I then when I was asking that question was the fact that I wanted to get the picture regarding how Felix was elected in, but then I got that now. Thank you very much for
Yeah.
that Kambale. So I wanted to ask Claude. Akin is back. He lost internet. Akin. I have people that want to ask questions, but then I think people can ask in the chat box or request to come up. Vinny, hi, how you doing? Before I go ahead and ask my question. Hi, Vinny. Are you
Yes,
there?
hello. Yes, Vinny is there.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm pretty well, and hello to everyone. If you allow me, well, I've heard all the all the speakers, and I do believe it is very important to talk that way. But um, the question to me that is very important actually is what do we want or what Nigeria wants? I'm from Congo. I live in Congo. And the main point, and I do believe that if in Congo we had a lot of failures actually, is that we want something and at the same time sometimes we want is opposite thing. Um, what Nigeria wants, I heard, I think Congo is Bleeding talking. I heard Benedict talking, and definitely what I've understood, and from what I've understood, actually, what they say is that okay, election will be rigged and already, and the only way to get out of this of that circle of that loop is to organize a revolution. If there's uprising and other stuffs, things will be fine. We have seen what happened in Tunisia because it's in Africa. We've seen what happened in Egypt. We've seen what happened in Libya about uprising, because we are not sure that 100% of our population want this president out. There are some which maybe not only from his tribe, but there are some we still want him to stay, and looking at that way will go to civil war. Going to Nigeria, I do believe that there are some parts of the population who want Buhari to stay. I do believe. And to me, first is to understand that the only game in town is democracy. It's elections. The system might be what it is, but it is elections that will definitely change Nigeria and at the end of the day give the power to people. There's an example that I want to give to you about how to process definitely. In Nigeria, maybe there are some tensions, and I do believe that maybe things will be put in place for SARS. I don't know if it will be Buhari or somebody else who will be the candidate, but definitely why do we fail actually? Let's go back in 2019. Why do we fail? Why did the Martin Fayulu, who claimed that he was elected, who claimed that the election was rigged, failed? Because he was unable to prove. I don't want to discuss about that because there have been a lot of talks and no facts. I'm going now to United States. Now we have seen
You
what
people
happened in
never want to
2020.
discuss that anyway.
Yes. We have
Sorry
seen
to
that
interrupt you,
in
but I had
United
to
States.
say that you never want to do it anyway, so that's fine.
You said
I just said this fact you never want to discuss it, and it's always go like that. So
no, no,
I,
no.
I, I don't know why you're mentioning it because you never
No,
discuss
no, no.
those things.
I'm coming somewhere. Just give me time to come somewhere.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
going
good.
somewhere. I'm going somewhere. Let's go back to
Okay,
United
so
States,
Vinny,
especially in
hello
2019.
Vinny, can you hear me? Yeah,
Hello.
sorry. Hello Vinny, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm going back.
Yeah.
Just
So
let me land. Just
yes,
let
you're
me
going
land.
to land. You're going to
Hmm.
land. However, would love if you can go straight to the question as well. Do you just have like a minute, because there are other people that want to speak. I just wanted to get that in. You're free to, discuss, but then keep it short and
No, no.
to
I'm landing somewhere. It is very important for me to mention all that to go
that's
somewhere
okay, but
because
then
yes.
please kindly keep it short. Yeah,
Yes, I will
thank you.
keep it short. Now, let's go back in the United States in 2018. There's somebody there that I love very much, which is called Stacey Abrams. And she lost actually some election in 2018. And what she did, actually, she did a tremendous job, and she did it to the people. We here, I do believe that there's part of the work that is done to the people of Nigeria, but I do believe that if we make them more aware of what their vote means, if they get more culture, if they grow actually in the democratic feeling, in the maturity of democracy, I do believe that they will understand that their choice matter. Because right now, I do believe, because in Congo, choices was not made based on what did the president did or whatever. There might be rigged election, but actually in Congo, unfortunately, and in most countries in Africa, we don't elect people based on what they did or what they're about to do. Is their face it's okay or not? Okay. But second point now, because in Congo, one of the failure was that we were not unable to what I would suggest also is to make sure, at least at your level, that in every poll, in every voting polls, actually, make sure that at least you have the information of that. Because what we had was trends, but actually facts came to the opposite, and we have seen what happened in the United States. And the last point that I want to actually
Reno, this is gonna go on
say is
forever
that
and ever.
no, I'm landing. The lasting point is that we
Yeah,
are
so 30 seconds,
democracies.
okay, Vinny?
We are democracies.
Vinny, 30 seconds.
We are democracies. And unfortunately, with democracy, you can elect good people or bad people. You can choose them. You can choose a bad people. You can choose somebody you thought was good, but who is worse than the one to come before. But that doesn't mean that the system shouldn't be trusted. And if we do not trust democracy, this will be now the hand, because whatever will come out of that democracy, we will never believe it because we don't trust in democracy. That was my actually last word about it.
Thank you very much, Vinny, for that. However, when we talk about how people do not trust in democracies, I think that it's a form of gaslighting when we don't highlight the factors that enable that distrust in democracy. You said people should not talk in democracy. People should not lose trust in the system. Why should people keep having faith in the system that is killing them? That is enabling them to lose their properties, to lose their lives, a system that is not working. I mean, there's a lot of conversations in Nigeria regarding how the system does not work for anybody except favor the elites, except to favor the 1% of the 1%. I think that it's okay when we encourage people to still have belief in the system and all of that. However, it is necessary as well to highlight the factors. I mean, for example, what I'm saying is often in my speaking engagement, I speak to, at least people, many people across the globe, very, very often. And then they say young people in Africa, for example, from I come from in Nigeria, do not participate in politics. While that can be true, I often tend to inform people that people, young people, do participate in politics. However, participatory politics, because the traditional institutions of politics that is supposed to protect them, encourage their involvement, enable them to become active community citizens, is the same system that is killing them through extrajudicial killings, political violence, and all of that. But we can go on and on. I just wanted to touch on that. Yeah, Akin, we're back. I wanted to ask Claudia a question. I think Chiamaka was coming on before, but then she's dropped. Richard, hi, how you doing? You have 1 minute, to ask your questions or make your contributions. Thank you.
Hi. Yeah, so while Richard is coming in, so Richard, quickly. So, Reno, I think you hit the nail on the head. And Vinny, again, we love to hear, it's not an echo chamber. So, for anyone that's seen the topic, Congo is bleeding, you might be part of the administration in Congo, you might be doing work for the government, and you may have a different perspective. Yes, it's equally okay to hear from all sides. But I think it's only wrong to have victim blaming, which is something that just happened, gaslighting. And equally, many times when I hear voices that patronize from a system, I mean, that benefit from a system where there's, patronage to the government in one form or the other. That's how it sounds. I don't know you, but again, I may be off in my assumptions, but I just want to clear the air. But even at that, please come up, speak your piece. It's not an echo chamber. I'll repeat that. And I think everyone, if you're in the audience, you want to come up, kindly request and we'll bring you up. Richard, go ahead.
Hi, I hope you can hear me, and thanks ever so much for allowing me to speak on this space today. I'm Richard Capen. I'm from the Democratic Republic of Congo. but now for work, living outside. But I do go back to Congo very often. I just wanted to check with my, Nigerian brothers and sisters about your experience because we've been touching on issues, for example, linked to space and democracy, how people can express their opinion. And in the example of the DRC, in the case of the DRC, I can just point you to something, and I guess we can see some similarities with Nigeria. So, for example, I've noticed there is a pattern in shutting down space for expression. And with the upcoming elections in Nigeria, and I think 2023 will be the DRC, I don't know how you guys are finding ways around that. I give an example. More recently in the DRC, they've declared a staged state of siege in selected areas affected by the killings by the ADF. And to me, my interpretation is that this was needless. And this is just one way the regime is actually using that state of siege as a policy to shut down space for freedom because people in those areas can't express in the same way they would if the state of siege was not there. The other example would be to look at the pandemic and the COVID situation, where we've had lockdown measures that are really incoherent and not actually leading to anything tangible. And to me, in the capital, they had areas where they were applying it, and some of the areas in the same city where these lockdowns were not actually being enforced. So to me, there are so many examples. We're not even talking about open intimidations and kind of not giving access to state media, to some voices, and so on. So I don't know, in the case of Nigeria, do you experience the same thing? And with the upcoming elections, how are you guys kind of finding space? Because the last thing we want, even if we want our people to go out and express and actually seek the change they so much deserve, the last thing we want is to see these people going out and being killed, see these people going out and being tortured and arrested and harassed. But how do we go around this issue of spaces being shut down? I don't know how, if you can share some of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. Akin, you want to go ahead? I know that.
Yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So brilliant questions there, and I say this. If I look at the plight of the folks in Congo, and I compare that with what we're seeing in Nigeria, and how citizens respond, I'd say in a way we don't really have a history of genocide that keeps people somewhat more frightened, as you find in many other African countries. Although if I take you back to the Civil War, which was about 50 plus years ago, well, 60 years ago, well, yeah, so let me say close to 60 years ago, you can retrace that. But I think many of us in this generation do not have those what I call scars to keep us somewhat restrained. Rather, you find an emboldened attitude in how we speak truth to power, how we've chosen to even stand up to the status quo, and even politically when you look at the democratic process. While it may feel like a lot of young people are being disenfranchised daily, and again you have a machinery in place to discourage turnouts, we're still finding ways to break down those decade old tricks that the establishment has put in place. So I say there's a lot of hope for both countries. I think it's only great that we're having these conversations where we speak to each other, we draw from experiences, and really understand that it's a shared problem. And I think being active, being engaged in these conversations are, just one of the many ways we can keep empowering ourselves with information and equally courage. Because I think at the heart of all of this is courage. Because a lot of people just wake up, say, let me go about my business, let me face my work, let me immigrate, let me leave the country and leave all the mess behind us. But then again, I think, a unified voice across borders would definitely transform the continent. But again, let's take the next speaker. I think that would be Jason, Dark Energy.
Hi, thank you for
So
having
before,
me. Good
please go
morning.
ahead. I wanted to add something to what Richard said before you come on, Dark Energy. I wanted to tell Richard that I said earlier in the space regarding how spaces are also being shut down in Nigeria. For example, the online space like Twitter, we have a lot of traditional media sanctions. Also, currently is in Zamfara and Sokoto where we have cellular telecommunications shut down. People can make calls, they cannot do text, they cannot do anything. Everything is totally shut down, and then citizens in other states do not know what exactly is going on in those areas. And the fear is that with the emergence of these telecommunication shutdowns, we could have it spread to other regions in the country where the government can decide at will to shut down, say, the telecommunication networks in Lagos or your state or Enugu state in the southwest and the southeast, without people knowing what exactly is going on in those regions, if people are being killed or not. And then Hakim made mentions of our young people these days, have scars. I think one of our scars is the recent. I think that for us, we we tend to think that the killings are often underreported these most of these days in our generation. But why do I say that? Because the media is complicit. We could have say shooting or protesters somewhere, like I think one happened in Zaria then, and it barely got out. I think even till date most of us still think that probably the it's that incident is just been over, it's just been exaggerated, where thousands of, I think it was the Shiite protesters were killed. Is it back in 2015 or 2016 that they were killed there as well? So I just want to make mention of that there's also a lot of ethnic divisions. So when things happen to other people in other regions in Nigeria, it's like it's not happening to us. It's like it happened to strange people. And because of the religious environment, we tend to cover ourselves with the blood of Jesus, and for those that are Muslim, we tend to say our prayers and and deceive ourselves into thinking that it's not happening. For example, I think was it over 50 people that were killed in a Shokoto market last 2 weeks, and then the country was barely in outrage. The country barely thought that this is a massacre that actually happened, and then people actually died. But then I tend to try to rationalize it to the fact that we've been desensitized as well. I was reading through Congo's killings, and I made mention of it the other time that within a day or two, people are being killed. I mean, in the space of almost daily, people are being killed in Congo. I think that happens in Nigeria as well. I mean, you can hear of 12 killings in Zamfara, 13 killings, 100 people killed, rice farmers killed, military shot of students, police killed this ones and that ones. And I think all of these incidences are sort of desensitized us into thinking it's not actually happening, or not actually documenting it as a massacre, or like the Campbell said, like, as a genocide or something. So I just want to make mention of that as well. Thank you very much, Richard, for the question. Dark Energy, please go ahead.
Reno, I wanted to add something to what you just said, if you don't mind, please.
Please go
And a
ahead.
couple of things that the desensitizing of people on atrocities and killings and massacres. This is something that happens through one of the methods that Akin just talked about. People who have the quote unquote privilege to detach themselves from these things, to look at it and act like this does not affect them, do victim blaming. You know what Akin just talked about. A person who's lived an experience will start speaking, and they will start to police them, to tell them, "Oh, you need to speak this way. You shouldn't speak this way." Or they will basically say, "Oh, I'm not going to listen to a person that talks that way," because they don't want to listen to the story. The story makes them uncomfortable, and the story of the victims make them so uncomfortable that they would rather not hear it. They would rather not hear about the atrocities committed by these governments. And we also talked about trusting the system. And there's another thing that's used is to use confusing terms. Take one thing and translating it into something else. When somebody says trust the system and then says if you don't trust the system, you don't trust democracy, for example, those are two totally different things. A system that is killing our people, a system that is jailing people, arbitrarily, a system that is shooting protesters in the streets can absolutely not be trusted. And I wanted to use an example of next door to, which is very relevant to Nigeria and Congo. Next door to Congo, Rwanda, also Uganda. These two countries, Uganda just had an election this year. Rwanda has an election right after, a quote unquote election right after the Congo in Nigeria in 2024. The election itself is not expected to be any type of election. So if you may trust democracy, but you cannot trust the system that's doing it, because first of all, just this year, multiple artists have come up missing. This is a thing that happens in Rwanda by the thousands. People our generation, born between the year 1979, 1980 to 2007, have gone missing by the numbers 600,000 in a period of 10 years. A genocide, 600,000 people went missing between 2005 and 2016. And those were young people, our age, our generation, people born, like I said, between 80 and 2007. Now, what happens in Rwanda? What's happened in Uganda? The people who are running for these elections, unlike, for example, Congo and Nigeria, where they actually, go through the motions of an election, in Rwanda, they arrest the candidates. It's happened in every so-called election. 2003, the contestants were arrested. 2010, Victoire Ingabire, a woman who ran for president, was put in jail, spent 8 years. Still today, she still has to report to the police after a quote-unquote presidential pardon. She still has to report to the police on a regular basis. In 2017, another presidential candidate, another woman, Diane Rwigara, was put in jail. In 2010, actually was multiple presidential candidates. 2017 was also the same. One of the people who went to run, Fred Barafinda, was he was arrested. He was put in a mental health institution, and they injected him with some type of medicine. This is from himself, from his own, his own experience, things that he said himself. And so, when you look at Kagame, for example, that people consider a great Pan-African leader, a great leader on the African continent, consider that what's happening in the Congo today has a lot to do with what's happened in Rwanda. When you look at Museveni, what's happening in the Congo today has a lot to do with Museveni himself. Because 25 years ago, they, at the service of the US and the UK and other Western puppet masters, decided to invade the Congo, and the Congo is a mess today as a result of the scramble for resources, the Congo resources, using proxies, using the Rwandans and the Ugandans to go after basically these mines and things like that to serve the multinational companies like Total in Nigeria and other places around the continent. So I just wanted to make sure that we tie together what happens in these elections. Have you ever heard of somebody winning an election 99%? That's what happens with Kagame. And then he throws a party to actually celebrate that he won with 99% of the votes, which, of course, that's a fake election. So again, when we say trust the system, when we're looking at all of these countries, if we look at it as a whole versus this piecemeal, we're looking at Nigeria, we're looking at Congo and all of that, we look at it in whole, it's the same. The system or the systems, if we look at them as separate countries, cannot be trusted. That doesn't mean that people don't trust the process, the process if it was held correctly. Now, I want to end with agreeing with what Benedict said, and Kambale, I believe he also said it. We should not accept election results that are announced when we know those results are wrong. We should continue to call it out. And as Kambale said, there has to be a revolution, a revolution of the minds, a revolution of the hearts, and a revolution of the people, so that we, the Africans, can determine our own affairs versus the puppets, who are running these countries, the dictators who are running these countries, and who have mastered the art, as Akin put it earlier, have mastered the art of changing history and making themselves the saints when they actually are the devils who are causing these problems. And I just wanted to end it on that point. Again, we can't blame the victims. We have to take a stand. And to take a stand is not to stop with the elections. It has to be beyond the elections. And what we must do is, for example, for Nigeria and for Congo and for other countries, all of us from the continent and in the diaspora must take a stand against these rigged elections, must take election against these leaders, misleaders who are supposed to be leading these countries, but really are, helping to kill our people. That's those are the remarks that I wanted to add to the
Thanks,
conversation.
Claude. Yeah, Claude. So let's Hans, Jason, go ahead. Dark Energy.
Hi, yeah, thank you so much. I absolutely agree with everything you've said. I think all those stuff you've just said, we just got to have a list of things we know is really messed up with the system, and set that up as our agenda in terms of growing and uniting this movement. We live in the 21st century. I'm talking to you from Australia. We can set up a borderless movement, and we actually start something. And it's going to be a movement that's going to fight injustice and whatever it is. We can pull resources. We have so many people that are smart. People can chip in with their tech skills to maybe set up an app or a website for us to communicate without outside interference. And if it's decentralized, then it means no one can control that network, right? So we can actually come up with something and also make our demands heard. We have Africa as the youngest population in the world. All these countries, their economies are aging. They are going to need workers because their health system is not going to cope. Economy is not going to cope if they don't get workers in to help them look after people. That's just how economies run. If not, they go into a recession, and then yeah, it's just going to all go to shit. So it's in their best interest to work with us in the long run. We just need to organize, put our demands out there, clear as day, and just fight for every African, because I feel everyone here, it does not sit right with them that someone is dying every day in Africa. So if we can have all those demands, and just set up a movement that everyone can participate in, and everyone can chip in with whatever they can do, talent or whatever. If I'm in Australia, whatever it is I can do, I can contribute to that. I can come back if I need to and be part of the movement. But we need to do something. We all know what's wrong with it. Like, we are all really smart people. We know the problems. We need to come up with solutions now. Solutions are what is going to help us achieve our goals, because luckily we have the communications to do it. And that.
Thank you very much, Dark Energy, for that. Thank you very much. I wanted Chiamaka to come on, but then Benedict, you have something to say?
Yeah, I just want to because
Jason, are you there? Renu?
Yeah, Akinwe, yeah. Please let
Okay, I
Benedict
don't
go
know if
ahead.
we lost him.
Yeah, we
All right,
I
so let's
think
take
so.
Michael. Michael, go ahead.
No, hold on, Akin. let Benedict go before Michael.
Okay.
Benedict, please go
Okay.
ahead.
I just wanted to say that, of course, I'm delighted to hear all of that, but I want to say that maybe sometimes, in order to have those movements a little bit stronger, it starts maybe sometimes just by standing up, meaning that when we hear that there is mass police brutality in Nigeria, wherever we are, we should be able to call people, being Congolese or whatever, and present ourselves in front of Nigerian embassy and protest. Just being out there and just say, we are there, we are looking at what you do. And I insist on that because sometimes people say demonstrations or this kind of thing as something that is not really concrete, meaning that we lose time doing these kind of things. But I have a dear friend of mine, and he from South Kivu. And Kivu, eastern part of Congo, with major violence. And what he told me is that when they were attacked by the Rwandan army, and that people were killed in the street or something, the 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 thing that hold them was knowing that their compatriot, other Congolese outside Congo, were demonstrating on the street and saying and protesting and saying that those massacres had to be stopped. And this was something that hold their spirit so very much, and it gave them courage just to resist. And that's why I think that we, of course, we are at the 21st century, but I think it's really important to have that in mind. I mean, if girls go missing or something, we know the embassy, because the thing, I think the message that we have to give to these people is that we see you, you cannot hide. Whatever you do, we see you. And not only Nigerians are looking at you, but Congolese are, Rwandans are, and I don't know, people from Togo are. And this is what maybe will make them stop. And maybe this is also the way we start creating maybe that unity. We start with something maybe that maybe doesn't ask too much to people. I'm just saying up. I'm just going to make my voice heard and telling people, I know you're a criminal. I know you're killing people, and we are looking at you. Because sometimes I remember when I had one friend that was he was arrested northeast part of the Congo. And just alone with a telephone, I just called one of the governor and I just told him, you know what? What do you think? You think that you are in that part of Congo, nobody's going to look at what you're doing. And I just told him, be careful. If that guy is dying, you will have major problem. And with that phone call, that friend of mine told me after they got him out of jail. And it's just me alone. But it's just that the person understood that he could not hide. And that's why I think that let's start things, but really, let's start first, stand up for our people. Massacres everywhere in Africa, we go there. We start just by that. And then when we'll find together in a demonstration, maybe we'll exchange more information to go further. But let's just try empower ourselves with those maybe little things, really. And the demonstration can be maybe just 5 minutes sometimes. But if there is a crowd, it's also going to have another impact. And we saw it with George Floyd. We saw it. And even though, okay, they're playing around his body and doing those memorial and all those stuff, but still, something happened there. So let's think about that.
Thank you very much, Benedict, for that. I've been wanting to ask my question, but then Chamaka, welcome. Please go ahead.
All right,
Hi,
thank you,
Chamaka.
Renu.
Are you there?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, if you can hear me.
Yes, yes.
Okay. First, I'm here to support my comrade Kambali, and thank you so much for all your contributions. I really echo Benedicta's last contribution on how we need to make this an African thing. And I think we need to focus more on Africa's unity, because what is happening in Nigeria is happening in Congo, is happening in Ghana, in Rwanda, in all parts of Africa. And the trends are the same. There's really nothing new from what we've known all along. So we might as well start situating solutions within and not outside of this space. And it will be great to see that, our colleagues, our brothers and sisters across other countries could come in and, help us in the struggle. And yeah, and we could do the same for them as well. When we do this, Africa is ours, and if it's better, then our lives are better as well. I believe that when we do this, it can only get better. Of course, it's not going to be a walkover, but sticking together, our power is in our numbers, and we've seen that from the NSAS protests in Nigeria, and we even see that currently in Sudan, right? We're seeing people on the streets protesting and demanding what they should naturally have without a force. But that's what is happening. So as soon as we realize that our power is in our numbers, and we as Africans need to take Africa, then things can begin to work. Once again, thank you all for coming, and thank you, Kambali, for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Amaka, for that. And before attend Temete Commons, I wanted to ask um Shinani this question, and I won't forget. So I always like to ask our guests that in Africa, who do you think is the problem? Do you think the people are the problem? Or do you think the leaders are the problem? Or the followers are the problem? So, Shinani, what do you think? Who are the problem? The leaders or the followers?
I think it's all of the above. Um, so we have, I think, the issues in Africa are internal and external. The external part is the imperialism by Western nations, you know, um, and the Western multinationals that want to and that are scrambling for our resources and stealing our resources and using African agents as they're doing their work, doing their bidding, in selling the resources. So there's the external.
Hold on,
Yes.
Claudine. Hold on, Claudine. Now, I'm not talking about the Western people in this regard. Why I ask this question is because you look at example in Nigeria where we had our president elected in 2015 by people, and then by the citizens, and then we elected this person back in 2019 again. I mean, even if some people would say the way it was rigged and it was not rigged, at least it's the president for now. So, looking at this case study, what do you think is the problem? Do you think it's the leaders who keep the people in suppression, in submission, in suppression, or do you think it's the followers who keep re-electing the same leaders, or who do not voice out for their or demand for their human rights, or do not come together to organize? So what the problem?
Yeah. So thank you for that. That's the part I was getting to. It's now I was getting to the leaders. The leaders are another set of problems because they get in there. A lot of them it's by either stealing or killing. And so when they take power by stealing or killing, they want to maintain themselves there because they don't want to be pursued by the people that they harmed on their way to power and while they're in power. So the leaders are a problem. The people are also a big problem because most people will sit and say, I don't want to get involved in politics. But at the same time, they will complain about the school for their own children. They'll complain about the roads. They'll complain about the lack of food and all of that. All of that is politics. But they don't look at it in terms of community and society. They're just looking out for their own selves. The other biggest biggest problem, I think. So we have the violent criminals in power. Those are number one. The second biggest culprits are the indifferent, the people who want nothing to do with it or who do nothing about it, who know about it, they see it and they say nothing, they do nothing, they watch it, like you're watching a movie, like they are not involved, like it does not affect them. Those are the second biggest problem. The third are the ones who do it temporarily. We rise up, we make our voice, heard or maybe not heard, and we give up. Giving up is a big problem. The person that wins is the one that resists the longest. And we have strength in numbers. I believe it was Emeka who just spoke, or Chiama, I believe it was Chiamaka. She said that our strength are in numbers, and that is true. The people outnumber the leaders. But we, of course, one of the things is we're corrupted by the type of education we get to just be followers. But by standing there and doing nothing, by not organizing and doing the work to make change, by allowing and accepting the results of these systems, the rigged elections, the stolen money, the killings and the jailings and everything, and we just do nothing about it, we are a problem. The people are a problem. So I said all the above, the biggest being the leaders, the second being the bystanders and those who are indifferent, those who look on, especially the one who know and do nothing about it. Because there are many people who may not be educated or may not understand what's going on. But those who can see it and do nothing are the second biggest problem, because silence is violence, silence is consent, silence is complicity. When a person sees something like that and do nothing, that's because, whether they like it or not, they are helping the perpetrator. And so then the third is the rest of the people who don't organize, mobilize, and energize and actually continue to fight. And as Benedict said, we should not accept, for example, when we go back to elections, we should not accept results of a rigged election. We should continue to call it out, to protest it, and to resist it. And united across Africa, I think would be the greatest thing that would yield the results. And not only that, for that kind of change, but also to prosper. We talked about the potential of the Congo. $24 trillion worth of resources. Congo can feed the whole continent. Congo can provide electricity to the whole continent. It has so much more potential than just those mineral resources. And many other African countries do. Nigeria does. Angola does. And we can go on and on. But my point is, we are all a part of the problem at different levels, starting with the leaders, the bystanders, and then the rest of the people.
Thank you very much, Shinani, for that. Please, Atenete, please go ahead. You've been waiting for a while.
All right, thank you for granting me the audience. I appreciate you a lot right now, and I wish there is just 10 of you in Nigeria and across Africa. I believe everything will be falling in place. My contribution is, first of all, it's not that the leaders or maybe the citizens are afraid. Let me use Edo State as an example. When the APC government wanted to shunchade the candidate, you see how the people resist. They say no. They voted who they wanted. If every Nigeria or every state can learn from Edo State, I'm not saying that the politics of Edo State is perfect or the leadership is perfect. What I'm saying is that when the people say no is no, the leader will hear the clear message. You understand? So that is the area I just want to chip in. And secondly, if you look, they use the security operative to suppress the people, to put fear in every citizen when elections come. When they say security, they do nothing about it. People die every day. There is no security to protect the citizen. But you see, during election, just you wonder where those policemen or DS or where they have been all those along. You see that it's a systematic process to suppress the people, to still keep the people in poverty, to be able to still cling to power. So it's a process that we, the youth, needs to study and understand. I also learned from the Edo State process how to resist and say no, even though we know that. And secondly, we need to look very well at the manifesto, because as it is now, it's all just two political parties. Look all over Africa. There's no new party springing up that pose a great threat to other established political parties. You can see all around. You see the same old political party. Either you are with them or you are against them. But what we have is the power to vote. That power, we need to
I think we lost him. Please, if you can come back, kindly do. Trying to get. Okay, he's here. Clever. Hi, how are you doing?
Thank you so much, Rino. I'm fine. Can you hear me?
So, do you have a question or a submission?
No, I just want to comment. Just also to say thank you to Kambale and the host for organizing this. I'm responding from South Africa. Yeah, I think I want to agree with the previous speakers on.
Sorry, we can't hear you very well.
You can't hear. Can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear me?
Please go ahead.
Yes, yes. I was saying that thank you for organizing this. I'm speaking from South Africa. I also want to agree with the previous speakers. The issue of unity and solidarity with among African countries is very, very important. I think one of the things is also to try and activate the activism and social movements, strengthen social movements, and make sure that all social movements in different countries in Africa are connected to be able to pay solidarity with each other. I think you could see. I think most of the things that are being said here are common in most of the countries, but I think there is a lot of sometimes fatigue in many social movements when they pick up things and they are done for a short period of time and then people forget about it and then it comes again, people go again and do the same thing. I think it is very important for people to be consistent all the time with issues that are affecting the African continent. The issue that the previous speaker spoke about imperialism, I don't think you can separate imperialism on the problems that we have in Africa. I agree with the issue of the issue of multinational companies, the big corporate companies that are influencing politics in Africa. Most of the time you'll find that the voters themselves do not have much power to do because they don't have money like these big corporates that actually go and support and campaign for votes for these people and buy votes and so on. So it is very important for social movements to be on alert and try and make sure that those issues that they are raising are always on people's and educate people. The ideology to be able to understand how imperialism and multinational companies are influencing politics in Africa. It's very important to educate the African youth and the African civil society so that they will be able to understand the link between these two, because you would not be able to win these issues if we are not united and if you actually do not understand the ideology. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Clever. I agree with you on the issue of fatigue. I mean, I can imagine how Aki has been on for over a year now regarding the issue of what happened at the Lekki toll gate, and many of us are trying to keep the conversation going regarding extrajudicial killings and police brutality in the country. So, thank you very much for that contribution. Of course, are you there? Sorry, we can't hear you, Abbas. Think you've been moved down to the audience. However, I wanted to talk about and how we manage to mobilize for our mass movements. I guess that was a question that come up very frequently. Okay, I think we have a Telegram group of where we have many Africans in that room, in that Telegram group, where we get to discuss African issues, and if anything is happening in Africa at all, people can also share in that group, and we can, all collectively talk about it, like tweet on our handles and all of that. I guess somebody dropped something that was happening in Iswatini, or in Swaziland, how police are killing protesters there, and then that was how I also got to know about what was happening there. So it's a very important, platform. And Kambale, Shinani, and Benedict can share. I'll share you the link as well, to your timeline, so that you can share. Like I said, and I think it was Benedict that said that we're also very, very much available, in terms of solidarity and mobilization, to help use our platforms to amplify voices coming out of Congo. Because as a result of the NSAS protests, not only Nigerians spoke about it. People in other African countries, in other Western countries, also helped to amplify the movement, in Nigeria. And you know, it's only beneficial, or how do I say this, that we also do the same thing in regard. So the question I wanted to ask before Aki comes in is, what is the future of young people currently in Congo? Do you think that the future for them is to move out? We call it Jakba, yes, to Jakba, or to stay and keep fighting. What is the future of young people currently in Congo? So, Kambale can go ahead.
I mean, it's hard to generalize the future of the entire country, but one thing that I can tell you is that the youth of the Congo, they are determined to have a better life, better opportunities, and they've shown that through history, and they're showing it now. You going to school, you graduate, there is no job for you. You want to have access to opportunity, it doesn't exist. There is ongoing conflict in the east, even with a so-called state of siege. So the Congolese youth, they are fighting for a better future, a better Congo. And the determining factor of their success will be how strong the organizing effort on the ground, a clear ideological organized force on the ground, uniting youth from many different perspectives for a sole mission of liberating the Congo, not election, but liberating the Congo, will bring the future that they are seeking. It's also important to note, just in all the discussion that we've had around what is happening in DRC and the fact that's happening, like while we as Africans, we are facing what we face, we really have to call a spade spade. The Africa is where it is. It's not because of our leaders. It's not because of the misdeed of our people, but it's mainly because of capitalism, right? It's a system. And many people may not have watched this series. I don't work for Netflix, so I'm not promoting that station, the platform. But there is a series on Netflix that's called Squid that really shows the nature of humanity. When you take a human being and you put the human being in an exploitative system, what that person can achieve, can do to other people. Capitalism is what has caused us on the African continent to be where we are. We don't have control of our land. We don't have control of our resources. We don't have control of the decision making of our countries. And we are told that electoral processes are the solutions. What Kwame Nkrumah and the forefathers of Pan-Africanism presented to us, saying that if Africa has to grow and develop and transform, we need to mobilize under the banner of scientific socialism by uniting Africa as Pan-African states, right? Pan-Africanism under the banner of scientific socialism. What does that actually mean? Someone in the beginning talked about how he was surprised. I think he was I don't know if it was Akin or someone else who mentioned that they saw a suspension bridge in Ghana, right, built by Kwame Nkrumah, still in Ghana today. That's one of the reasons why we are studying the development plan of Kwame Nkrumah. About what did he do that's innovative. All he simply do, not himself, but through an organized force, he made sure to take control of the state called Ghana. He made sure to take control of the resources of Ghana. He made sure to exploit those resources and take the proceed of the resources to build roads, hospitals, schools, universities, provide healthcare, provide scholarship to Ghanaians, where decades later, Ghanaians are still benefiting. So when we're going to elect our leaders to the next election, are we thinking first, right? Because we only talk about the election exercise. Are we thinking that the cobalt of the Congo is in the hands of the Congolese? Do we know who controls the oil of the Congo? Who controls the water? Then in the case of Nigeria, it's the same thing. As we remove Buhari, who controls the oils? Who will be the determining force in the election results when they say that Buhari is re-elected and every Nigerian know that this was a rigged election? Will it be the people, or will it be the outside forces? And why these outside forces are strong is because they are actually working under capitalism, and we are all in the system. Until we dismantle capitalism on the African continent, we will continue to have this. Can we bring scientific socialism? Can we work for a Pan-African move, a true, real Pan-African, a revolutionary Pan-African movement on the African continent? Yes. Have we done it before? Ghana is an example of what can be achieved under Pan-Africanism. Let's concretely connect to rebuild this Africa that we want.
Thank you very much, Kambale, for that. I know that we have to let Kambale go in about 3 minutes, and I think that we've managed to cover at least half of what we need to. I was intending to get to Dr. Ken on the spaces, but then we can always host a part two of the updates that is happening in Congo. Akin, you have anything to add in before we finally say farewell? Okay, so hacking is having VPN issues. And so, Claude and Benedict, I would like to say thank you very much for taking the time off of your, tight schedules to come on. Hi, Hacking. Are you back?
Yeah, Rina, I'm here. Thanks. Just in between tasks. So, look, a lot of great contributions. I love, everyone's input today. Again, for us in Nigeria, the hope is to continue this, what I call difficult task of really making sure that we keep each other motivated, continue speaking truth to power, standing up where we see injustice, meted out against our fellow compatriots. And lastly, making sure that as much as possible, people that are not politically active can wake up and join this fight, because you hear this accusation always of, elections are holding, and if you want in Nigeria that, meets your expectations, then join the system or perhaps participate or show up to vote to elect, the leaders that you feel are, trustworthy. And, many times, while that would be the cry you hear, it's equally sad to know that people get disenfranchised, when elections hold in certain communities. There are people that are excluded, primarily this demographics that they accuse of not participating. I'll give you an example. You can never find elections in Nigeria holding on election day. So if you think of people in the demographics of 18 to 22 that are probably going to be university age students or tertiary, level students, they would forestall plans to make it to a certain location to participate, only for the elections to be postponed, and then they have to return, or perhaps return back to whatever they had to do. And because they know that it's not affordable to try to repeat that process twice, they become excluded. So you say, oh, they don't vote, but then the systems that should, guarantee that their votes and their rights are protected often fail them. So, as much as possible, we have to keep exposing these tricks. We have to keep making sure that even while we encourage people to turn out to vote or to register to vote, we're calling to encourage them to, again, stay committed to the process, because they will frustrate you even when you choose to participate. So, again, for my fellow Africans in Congo, equally speaking up, standing, for what you believe in, and making sure that, again, you call global attention to the issues locally while equally taking a stand yourself. I think for us, the goal is to keep making sure our fellow Nigerians pay attention, and, like Benedicta said, try to throw, or lend support in whatever way we can, tweet about it, put it up on social media spaces. When it comes to even financing, like we saw with NSAS, it was not only local support but mostly diaspora based, and a lot of other Africans even doing their bit. I think that type of you know uh, well-rounded support is what we ought to start, doing as young people on the continent. But again, thanks to everyone for joining. Claude, I see your mic is open. If you want to come in, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank y'all, you and Sister Reno, and it's great to be in this space with you again, especially going way back. But thank you all for hosting us and having us and shining a light, to a community that otherwise was unaware of what's happening in the Congo, but also we're able to bring our network also to follow what's going on in Nigeria and connecting the dots. And it's good to see people from all over the world participating and seeing the need to connect these dots.
Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Claude.
Claude.
If you're in the room, please follow Kambale. He's still on the space. He needs to go anyway. But Kambale, follow Chinani and Benedict. Please, we all need to, like Claude said, connect the dots and make sure that issues that are happening in Africa is at the forefront, is at the forerunner of whatever we're thinking about or we're doing.
What's
So
going
thank you
on
very
in
much.
Nigeria.
Akin, please go ahead.
Sure. So I don't know if we have others on stage. Benedict, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to thank you all for this invitation. For me, it was something really, really appreciated, because I think that we need to have this conversation. I always say that we are stronger and more intelligent together and not alone, in exchanging and also finding courage to fight for one another. And these are opportunities that are given to us to empower one another, and they are really important. And I really appreciated the fact that I could also maybe try to explain a little bit what was going on in the Congo. And I hope that it struck a chord somewhere to the people who were there in order to assist us, as we are also promising to assist you guys in the fights we are pursuing, because the fight is the same. It's the fight for life, for dignity, and we shall never forget that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And that was
Thanks
what
for
I
that.
wanted to end it. I end with Benedict, that our salvation, our fight is collective. We cannot do it alone. We need to come together to make sure that we're doing anything we're doing it together. Everybody needs to come on board. Everybody needs to know about issues, because the fight is for it's for survival. And it was Claudia that said in the stats that injustice, happening anywhere, injustice to one is always injustice to all. So if people are being killed in Congo, it's just like people are being killed in Nigeria. It's just as people are being killed, in Uganda, in Rwanda, anywhere in Africa. So injustice to one is injustice to all. That was just what I wanted to add in. And I wanted to say that for Nigerians in the house, whether you think it matters or not, whether you think it counts or not, we need to use every possible legal means to make sure that we achieve what we're looking for, which is peace, which is dignity, which is justice. So, and one of those legal means is to get your PVC. So I know people may decide to argue whether it's important, whether it will count, it's going to be rigged or not. But please still get that PVC. Thank you very much. I wanted to say something before I round up the space.
No, that's it. Thanks for listening, everyone. Renee, over to you.
Thank you so much. And my birthday is almost here. So, guys, if you're here, wish me happy birthday tomorrow. And we love you all. I love you, Hakeem, Kambale, Shinani, Benedict. Thank you, everybody, for joining the space. Till we host the next space. Shinani wanted to host one with Dr. Ken. So whenever is available, please reach out. We're happy to do a part two of this space because I don't think that we've said, we've touched many of the issues that need to be touched, and then so that you guys can also have a chance to ask us, different questions. Thank you so much, Hakeem, for always. Thank you, guys. Don't forget to
Thank
follow our
you.
speakers. Yeah. Bye, everyone.
So we make
Thank you.
concluding remarks to the live audience on YouTube. And, I think the issue was my microphone.
So I believe now they can hear us now. Yeah, I was saying thank you so much, guys, especially Reno Oduala. Thank you so much, the host of the Twitter Space, Reno Space. Thank you, Akin Olaoye, the co-host of the Twitter Space, Reno Space, for this really fantastic conversation of In Pursuit of Justice, where the Nigerians show solidarity with Congo on mapping reports and what's happening both in Nigeria and Africa in general. So let me bring in our colleagues that we have been hanging out with here at the studio. We have today Claude Gatebuke and Benedict Njoko. By the way, thank you, Benedict, thank you, Claude, thank you, Kambale, also for such a fantastic conversation that you guys have just had. It's been amazing, and I believe that today everyone is really, really, really proud of the solidarity that you have had today with the Nigerians and other friends of the Congo who have been following this conversation. So without any further ado, let me start with Benedict. Benedict, what was it like today with the conversation with our brothers and sisters in Nigeria? What was your takeaways? What can you tell us? Who have been following this conversation? I'm not sure if Benedict is with us. Claude Gatebuke, can you hear us?
Playback in the background or like what's being broadcast, that's confusing us a little bit. But I'll turn it over
because
to
I see
Benedict.
Claude talking.
Who have been following this? I'm not sure if
Can I go
Benedict is
ahead?
with us. Claude Gatebuke.
Confusing us a little bit. But I'll turn it over to Benedict.
Claude, between you and Benedict, I think one of you it's still had. I'm not sure if it's Benedict. Claude, can you hear us?
Yes, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Oh, I think it's Benedict. Benedict, if you can close your app, the Twitter Space act. Oh, it's okay. We'll figure out how to get it done. So, Claude, what was your takeaway? What was your takeaway in this conversation today?
Biggest takeaway is if I can, I guess they say to be a good speaker, you have to
Benedict, if you
be
can,
brief,
if you can close
be good, and be
It's
gone.
closed
to the
already.
space,
It's closed already for a while now.
we'll figure out how to get it done.
Be,
Okay, mute your YouTube, Benedict. It's possible that it might also be on.
yeah,
Check your
I think
YouTube
the
and see.
YouTube is got a playback. Yeah. My biggest takeaway was our struggle is the same. That's number one. Number two is united, we will make it. And three is we need to continue building, and we need to start looking at these colonial boundaries as a way to keep us contained and continue to globalize the struggle that we're in, the fight that we're in. And that is the formula to really moving the needle. And lastly, it's important that we educate each other. You know, I learned a lot, but I also saw some comments. You know, someone said this was the best decision they've made so far to join the space because they learned a lot and they felt so many emotions, but now they're moved to take action. So my big takeaway is we need to continue getting together with our fellow Africans, with the rest of the world, to raise awareness and take action on the issues that affect our people so that we can take our destiny into our own hands. That was my biggest takeaway. Thank you.
Thank you, Claude. Benedict, what was your takeaway?
Well, first of all, I was really happy to participate in something like that because I'm one of those persons who actually always feel a little bit bad about the fact that we don't have enough Africans on board on our issues, that we always have the feeling that we are navigating, on our own lake or sea without, joining other people. So to have been given that opportunity today to do so was really empowering, and I'm really happy about that, and to see that people care and people want, as I said, as Claude said, to get on board and try to empower each other in our fights. I think that this is something really amazing, and this is something that we should really pursue, because we have to understand that somehow, it's not somehow, but we are stronger together. This is how we change things. And it's also for us Africans to understand that we are more than those people. This is something that we really need to understand. If we talk about those Western powers that have so much influence in our countries, but as per number, what do they represent in face of us Africans? And I think that we need to try to think about those aspects in order really to take the fear away, and also not fall into some kind of fatality that we are not going to succeed because they are too powerful, and because they have the money, they have the weapons, and all this stuff. We don't have to forget that a country like Vietnam, they chased the United States. They put that country out of their country. And even today, we see Russia taking a stand, even though they tried to put it down, but its face is also the US. Same thing with China. That is doing also. So why can't we do that? We have such a big continent, and if we're just aware of our battles and fight, and we know we have to learn and to know the people we are opposing. Those people studied us, and we have to study them as well. And we can do so by joining together, because I live in Switzerland. Some people are living like you live maybe in the United States, in Australia, something, you know their culture, you know their mentality. So if we put all those knowledge together, we can oppose them and try really to build our countries. And I also insist on the fact that we have to learn to ask our coons we have to hold them accountable. It's not, we cannot tolerate anymore to look at them doing all those wrongs in our countries and letting them go. Then we need to hold them accountable. We need to tell them that they are coons. And we have to understand that they undermine our possibility to live freely, because they are participating in all those wars, in all the subjugating of the people. So we really have to be, some people are going to call it radical, but I think that at a certain point we have to do so. And I was empowered in that today, and I thank really everybody for this invitation. I thank you also, Freeman, to put everything together each time. It's perfect, it's nice, and I love to be here. So thank you very much again.
Thank you so much, Benedict. Thank you, Claude. Also, today has been one of those incredibly difficult, yet quite an amazing and a challenge, I would say, because we've done the very best to actually join the resources from Twitter, the resources from Facebook, the resources from here. So Twitter, Facebook, even YouTube. And this was the first time that all our techies from all those sides got together and we attempted to converge everything in one place. And needless to say, I think I really want to encourage you brothers and sisters from all of Africa and those who are voiceless. We want you to write your own story, your way, and in your voice. And so be sure to join us on our broadcast so that we can also get your voice heard. And before we wrap it up, because I know that it has been quite an amazing experience today, let me start off with, again, Benedict and then Claude. Any parting words before we sign off?
Well, I just want to tell everybody to be courageous. Mm-hmm. I really like that word of Maya Angelou when she says that courage is the best of the virtue. You cannot love, you cannot be fair if you don't have that. So I really encourage everybody to have that courage, and also to think that they are not going to be alone, because some of us are already here, and that we will hold hands. The ones that are coming, we are going to hold them and we are going to walk together. And it's also because people like me, I become an old woman, really. And
you look
so
fine
I
to
really
me. You don't look no old at all. I disagree.
Guys, but really, this year, I just accomplished 50 years old, so I'm becoming an old woman. So it's necessary for us now, to hand also the baton to the others, to the youngers, in order for them to pursue this fight, but also telling them that we are here and we are standing. And if some of our people have difficulties, because we don't have also to forget that we are dealing also with trauma. We don't talk enough about that aspect, which maybe sometimes weaken people and don't allow them maybe to do the things that they should do. But at the same time, we are not all experiencing it the same way. Some of us are standing, and we are there to really empower the others. We are there to hold their hands and to encourage them to come with us, because the end is beautiful. And everybody has to think about that beauty. We have to go there. We have to see that light. We have to see that beauty, and let all those darkness behind us. And anyway, I'm really confident that we're going to manage to do that, because we are all here together, and this is something that already speaks for justice and also for victory. So just a lot of courage to everybody.
That is quite awesome, and I'm super grateful. Claude, any parting words?
Yes, for me, I'm also going to use a quick quote by my man Frederick Douglass that says, "If there's no struggle, there's no progress. power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. And um, these words spoken from somebody who was sold into slavery at 7 years old, freed himself at 21, and became one of the biggest abolitionists in the world. We all have such amazing potential, and potential is a curse, not only to the person that has it, but also to the world when it's not used. And so we must put our potential to work. And our human potential is so important. Our 2 feet count, our voices count, and we must do this to do the right thing, and we cannot be polite about it. We're not here to be polite. We are not here to dilute, the message. Recently, I was on a panel with somebody who is he's like a doctor on his title. He's a university professor, and he was doing a presentation, and he was trying to balance, quote unquote, balance. And in his balancing, again, it's like minimizing, what's happened to the people and all of that. And I say it's so important that we are not all about balance. It's about the right thing, doing the right thing. And by doing the right thing, we inspire others to do the right thing. And by inspiring others, they join in doing the right thing. And let's continue to inspire the whole continent of Africa. Let's continue to inspire all of our people. But those who are inspired, we also invite you to join and continue in this fight that we're in. And the only thing that can stop us is us getting tired and stopping. And we are not going to stop. We're not going to stop. In fact, we are only getting started. And let's continue building. Let's build the momentum, and let's get to this beautiful destination that Benedict is talking about. Even the journey is beautiful as long as we are real, as long as we're truthful, as long as we are doing the right thing by our people, by us, and by our values, convictions, and principles. In human values, we can't change human values. I mean, the principles and values, we can't try to change and twist them around. Bottom line is, if we go by those, and believe me, there are more people we share the same human values than those that we don't share them with. Every life matters. Every life matters, and we must make it count.
There you have it,
Oh,
guys.
and Freeman, I'm sorry, I have to kick a shout out to, I see Ebema Mukunde just left a comment here. And shout out to you, Aimee, and Olive, and Gaston Alliance, Marianne, and everybody that's followed this broadcast. Thank you all.
There you have it, guys. Thank you so much, Claude Gatebuke. Thank you, Benedict, the Queen Benedict. She looks young to me, even though she's convincing us that just because she's pushing, a half a century, that she's old. I don't think so. Until you become 96, I would still see you as a young lady, mostly able. And definitely able, I can say that. Thank you to our brother Kambale, also Musavuli. He wasn't able to actually give his remarks as he's in another conversation right now. And thank you kindly, Akin Olaoye, who's been the co-host for the Twitter space, Reno Space, and of course the Queen herself, Reno Oduala, for having hosted the conversation that we were having in pursuit of justice, where the Nigerians shows solidarity with our brothers and sisters from the Congo, the DRC, that is. And we cannot stop, or we cannot sign off without saying thank you to all our viewers worldwide. Those of you who joined us via television, radio station, or even these newest technologies that we have. As you have seen, we are pushing envelopes. We are pushing envelopes on new grounds using technology to reach all of you around the globe in every single corner of the world. and right in your living room. So I really want to encourage each and every one of you to stand tall in your own history, stand tall in your own story. Don't let nobody else speak, say, or narrate your story, your family story, your community story. Be the one to speak up. And we are here. We are going to join with you all anywhere that you are, and we want to make sure that we are the one utilizing these social media tools to speak our own story, to get it out, to write our own history. And last but not least, I really want to say thank you again for our techies from Twitter, from Facebook, from YouTube, and here at HMG Network, who really worked tirelessly for the first time joining in all these applications together. As hard as it was, as glitchy as it was, we were able to pull it off, and I'm super grateful to all of you guys. And until next time, be sure to join us on our next broadcast, where we will be utilizing these very technologies, social medias, to connect anywhere you will be all over the world. I am Freeman with HMG Network. So long.